Hey y'all, it's me again, Joey.
Well, ready to let them loose?
Yep, that's it. Let's see if they make us run.
Oh,
Probably so.
yeah, that one tried to get after him, but other than that, what can you expect? I mean, can you blame them? Oh yeah, they're getting after us now. Go, Joey, go!
Hey man!
Hey, man, buddy. I'm gonna get in the truck. You gotta go back and get your camera.
But also, just get as many as you can off the one next to it. Out.
You gotta move away.
Do that side again. Y'all ready? Let's get started. Well, hello everyone. I hope everybody's doing great. It's been a fun but busy week for us around here. We've had fair this week at our little town next door. Hey, Melissa.
Hi, Joey. How are you? Hi, everybody.
But the fair keeps you busy. You have fun and you wear yourself down all at the same time. But I thought I saw somebody else click in there. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing good. Tom's being a goofball, shining a light at me down the hallway.
Yeah, y'all been a little bit busy, hadn't you?
We have been. So Thursday night we had a market, Friday night we had a market, and then today they had what the little local bee shop calls a bee flea, basically
Yeah.
a resale for everybody. We had that this morning, so we had to be there at like 7:00 this morning. So we didn't get home today till like 3:00 this afternoon.
Oh
So
man.
we've been busy the last few days.
Yeah. Oh, I had a couple of things I wanted to mention. I'm going to wait and let a few more come in before I say that. One of them's an apology. Nobody probably caught it but me. I caught it when I went back and did the review, watching it, the replay. And I said, I that's going to bother me. I need to say something about that. So anyway, let's see how many we got in here. I hadn't even went to the YouTube side of this thing yet.
Let's see.
Probably gonna get an echo. I got to get over there and turn that one off.
17. You're at 17 right now.
Yep. All right. I done got a commercial. But the first thing I was going to mention, I go ahead and mention it because it'll probably come up again. We've been having a pretty decent flow going on around here. I say decent. That's about all it was decent. And good pollen and enough nectar to keep robbing down. And the last little video I just posted this morning, after all that was done and closed up, I just kind of hung around the bee yard a little bit. And all of a sudden, there was a pile of bees on front of that hive. I should have videoed this. It'd have made a good video. But I got to watching. I said, that colony is already getting robbed. Mistake number one is when I took that frame that was leaning against the hive and shook those bees that were on it off. When I was editing the video, I said, I'm going to put a text there and say that is a no-no when there's no nectar coming in. But where I was at, I just couldn't. At that fairground, there's so many people on cell phones that I couldn't edit it. My program has to go online sometimes to get some information. But I think that's what did it. But I could tell every now and then that ball of bees would knock down a bee trying to come in, and they'd hit the ground. And it wasn't seriously robbing. I think it was just a few trying. And I got to watching, and it was starting to happen everywhere else too. Slowly, it was just kind of like working its way out in the yard. I said, well, they'll just have to handle it. But this is a little baby nuke. And I went ahead and took that screen that's on that entrance, straightened it up, and closed it up and stapled it closed. When anybody in couldn't come out, anybody out couldn't come in. And I kept it that way until the sun actually come out and it got too hot to keep them locked up. I went back and opened it up. But by then, those robin bees had already moved over to equipment trying to get into it because they couldn't get in that one. It. And I opened them back up, and they all come back out and gathered around the entrance. But it's all good. It's been several days since I went into that one, and it's all good. Yeah. Hey, Brian. But that was I already knew this, and that would have been a good lesson, a good little video to put out there. But I always tell people, no, I didn't shake it in the front. I actually shook them on top. And usually I do shake those bees off somewhere, and whatever bees are on it. It had bees on it when I set it to the side, so I just naturally grabbed it and shook it in the box. But evidently there was a few robber bees on it, and when I put them in that colony, them being full, nobody bothered them. So they left and said, hey, everybody, I know where another hive is with nectar. But anyway, I got it out. The situation was handled, and it was a good relearn for me to be careful when you don't have a flow going on when you open a colony up. But I just wanted to mention that. And hey, everybody coming in over there, I had my glasses off. I don't see who's coming in and saying what. But what's up, JW?
Same old. I just got back to the house. I got a good friend that had a fish fry for about 50 people. Guess who got to do the cooking? Fry the fish. That's where I've been since I started about 3 o'clock, and I just finished up the fish cooking, and I left them. Had all that out.
I'm gonna have to check my emails. I didn't see no fish get emailed to me.
JW's like, I'm out of here. I gotta go talk bees. That's enough of the fish for today.
Mm-hmm.
No, I honestly didn't know how long it would take, but I got them filled up there about just about an hour ago, maybe 45 minutes, and I wasn't 10 minutes away. I wasn't 3 or 4 miles from the house, so I snuck out the side door after I got cooking done, and I got out of there. I wasn't in the mood to be social with them.
Yeah.
You did enough people in for the day. You were peopled out.
Yeah.
In-person peopling anyway, I guess, huh?
Yeah. So how did your marketing go?
It went good. He sold the little hand crank extractor, the 2-frame thing. He sold that. He sold the electric planer that he had. He sold 2 boxes of bottles. What else did he sell? I think just some. Oh, he sold all I guess he had like 5 or 6 5-frame nukes. He sold all those. I think that's pretty much like the majority of stuff he sold. So he moved some of the big stuff. So that was good. So. And then
was that the flea market thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, is that what you were talking about?
Yeah.
So the flea market thing that was today, yeah. So that's what he sold today. At the Halloween witches day out markets or whatever they were. We did pretty good.
Mhm.
So those are good. That was our Thursday night booth right there.
Now that flea market thing wasn't in Herman though, was it?
No. That booth picture was in Herman. The flea market thing was in Fenton at the local bee shop here in St. Louis.
Yeah, I know that later. I've met her. You know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Joey, you got to warn us before you show us something that's scary.
Well, that's
What's
Lee.
that?
That's Lee. Lee probably switched that picture up there.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
That picture up.
Yeah.
You got to warn us before you show us something that's scary. It's Halloween, I guess. Got to be ready for those kind of things.
Just pop up on you.
Yeah, some kind of alert, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the Herman is about 45, 50 minutes away from us.
Mhm.
So that one was from 5 to 9.
Hey,
So we
Brian.
didn't get home until like 11 o'clock Thursday night. And then the one Friday night was from 7 to 11. But that one is only like 10 minutes from our house. But still, by the time you pack everything up, you get home and unload. We didn't like go to bed until after midnight. And then we had to be up in Fenton, which is about a half hour away, this morning at 7 a.m. So we got up at 6:30 and headed out that way. And we got home about 3 o'clock this afternoon. We're both like, let's take a nap. And then Joey texted. So, but yeah, so it's been a busy 3 days.
Sonny boy, is he in bed? He's still sleeping, is he?
No, he had to freshen up. He had to go take a shower. He couldn't.
Oh, that poor baby.
I know, right? Look at me. I'm a mess. I have,
I figured y'all was busy. I said I'm gonna shoot him a text anyway.
No, yeah, we were just watching a movie actually when you texted, so we weren't doing anything. We were just being lazy.
Yeah.
Being lazy. But yeah. Anybody else do anything exciting today?
Yeah, I
Brian
wanted to
had
come.
some guests.
Yeah, that was super exciting. So I got to meet Russell Koopman's wife and daughter today. That was super exciting.
Really?
Philip, you're gonna love this. I couldn't remember their names, so when I posted
called
the
Richard?
wrong names. Yeah. So first of all, I apologize. I was so excited to see them. It wasn't like the most formal of introductions. Like in an earlier chat this week, Russell had mentioned that they were going to come into town. So I in the comments, this was a conversation we were having. I was like, have them come by, blah, blah, blah. I'd love to meet them. So I'm at the market this morning, and the way we usually do it is I show up super early. I set up. The market opens at 8. I'm there for the early customers, and Jen rolls in whenever she's ready, and then sells a lot of stuff. So when she gets there, I'll often take like a walk. I'll go get breakfast. I'll talk to other vendors.
Mm-hmm.
So at one point, maybe around 10 in the morning, I go for a walk, and then I come back and I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm expecting these people to come and visit. And she's like, oh, yeah, they came by already. And I was like,
no.
What? So I was like, no, please don't tell me I missed them. So like 20 minutes later, they came back. And I could tell it was them by the way they were standing in front of the booth. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad to see you, blah, blah, blah. So I never even got to formally be like, my name is Brian, So I felt super bad. Great folks. It was so nice to get to meet them. And I believe Russell's wife's name is Sharon, looking at Facebook now. We had a great conversation. We were talking creamed honey, and she was checking out our setup and everything and asking questions. So it was super cool. And I was trying to give them their free creamed honey, but
yeah, you like, offered it.
That's right. And this is what I was waiting for all season. So they're like, we don't have check-in bags. We can't carry on any honey. So they got some nice, yeah.
I wonder if they could take creamed honey though, because it's solid.
Yeah, I've taken creamed honey once. They pulled it out, looked at it. Yeah, but it was rock hard creamed honey. Okay. Yeah, and then that got through. So they ended up getting some shirts and a hat and all that kind of stuff. But it was so fun to get to meet them. That was definitely a highlight. And this was our second to last market of the year. until we
wow.
hit the holiday season. So we'll have all of November off. So we're about ready to kind of rest and breathe and take a break and kind of re-up for the holiday season.
Yeah.
But I wanted to come on and share that story just because it's been so fun to get to meet all you folks in person, like meeting Melissa and Tom when you guys got to come out to Colorado,
Yeah, that
meeting
was
Philip when I got to go out to Texas, right? It's one thing to get to meet Joey. We got to go out to dinner at Nabby with you and Philip, you know? Getting to meet people on here is one thing, but then once you get to meet them in person, it's, I don't know, just in a way, this is almost like characters in a TV show, you know? And then when you get to meet people in person, then they become really real. So it was really nice.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go back and eat there again too, y'all.
Yeah, that was a good place for sure.
Where'd you guys eat?
I don't even remember.
Now you can't go back.
It was like
the chicken place.
We got fried chicken somewhere.
Well, that's funny. So after I saw your post about the Koopmans, Tom and I are actually driving home from the market thing today. When I saw that, I'm like, it's real, kind of just to reiterate what you said. It's been really amazing to, like, when we go out of town or whatnot, even if we're not going out of town on something bee related, like just to, like, is somebody that we know live in that area that we can, visit with or, say hi to, and actually, like, physically meet instead of just seeing a face or, hearing a voice on the channel. We've done, obviously, gone to Nabby. We went down to Slidell. We've met, Joey and Mike and Mr. Ed and, JW came out last week and we met you, Brian, and so many people. And it's just this whole community and it's just really interesting to be able to actually know so many people from all over the place, right? Not just like in your backyard or your local bee club, but like just to actually know and have those connections with people around the country it's just kind of cool.
And the fact that hopefully I've helped people on these streams get ideas on how they can improve their products or their beekeeping. I know I've gotten some great ideas from Russell Koopman that have helped me dial in my creamed honey. So we actually got to spend like 2 hours at Nabby last year because I didn't have Jen with me and he didn't have any of his family. So we got just a chance to walk up and down the aisles and talk creamed honey and get all of kind of our just bee nerding out.
Right.
Pete is another guy. Pete lives in Parker, Colorado, like an hour from where I live. I met him sort of kind of through these streams. I went and talked at his local club and he's standing there like one of those old timers in the back, like looking at the presenter. And then he's like, he sees my logo and he's like, I know this guy. Right. So then at like throughout the presentation, he's asking me all these questions and everything. So like, I'm trying to piece this all together. Like this guy's definitely interested in what I've got to say. And then afterwards we had a conversation and that's how I got to meet him. So through these streams, I got to meet another Coloradan. Yeah. Looks like he's going to Nabby this year too. That's awesome.
And that's happened to us too. Like just even at the bee flea market thing today, you get people coming up to you that you've not ever met before, right? And I don't ever expect anybody local to watch these. Obviously, I know Matt and Sandy watch this, but like for people to go, oh yeah, we've seen you on YouTube because like they know us from the EMBA, and then so they get our name or search it or whatever, and it's just kind of like, oh wow, it's kind of odd to know that like people around you. Like when we do YouTube, it's like kind of like, I know these people are real, right? But they're not like physically around me, right? They're kind of out in the universe somewhere, but like to be like in your own backyard, it's kind of interesting, and to be able to meet them and whatnot is fun. The people who are selling stuff right next to us today, they're actually an older couple. They're downsizing, actually getting ready to move to Denver. So we're like, hey, if you get back into beekeeping when you move to Denver, contact us and we'll try to hook you up with our friend that lives in Denver that's really into beekeeping. So I don't
can
know.
help them out for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. They said like maybe sometime next year they're going to move up there or something like that. So that's kind of cool too, to like make those connections and be able to network like that.
Yeah. Hey, Tom.
Hello, how are you guys doing tonight?
He's all fresh and showered now, JW.
All
Boy,
right.
it sure don't look like it. It didn't help.
It didn't help.
Hey, Brian, do you have a wig on or a hat? I can't tell. It's dark. Oh, okay.
Oh,
For a minute,
Yeah.
it looked like
No,
you
I
had
see what you're saying. Yeah.
dark. It was kind of
It's my comb over.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, there you go. No, I'm in the garage tonight, so the lighting's kind of meh.
You got in trouble too, huh? It's cool. Come on down. You can come to St. Louis and hang out. I got a room for you.
Yeah. I'm with you. Oh, I signed up for your conference, your February conference.
Oh, awesome.
But just so you know, it auto-filled. So I bought one ticket, but it says Brian and Jen.
Okay.
So don't be confused. It's just me going. But
I'll let Janet know. So,
Yeah.
she'll print out all the name tags. So just so your name tag doesn't say Brian and Jen.
Perfect. But I'm excited for that too.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a good
I was
time.
going to get disappointed, Brian. They don't do a very good job. I can tell.
Well, hopefully I'll get to meet you too there, JW. That'd be part of why I'm going.
You get me at Nobby. You'll be sick of me by the time February comes around.
No, hey Brian, don't let him mess with you. He's a hoot to hang out with.
I bet.
We
What you guys? You went out to dinner or something?
Lunch.
To lunch.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
All they do is eat.
Hey, and I bought, didn't I, old fella?
Yes, you did. Yes,
That's
you
right.
did.
I'll treat people right if they come over here and hang out with me.
What have you been doing to me this whole time then?
Treating her right, taking her out to dinner.
That's awesome. I'll get to meet Matt at Nobby too. See, that's what I'm talking about. That kind of that family coming together. All these people, like the first time I went, which was like Hive Life, the last one there, I wanted to meet all of the stars. I wanted to meet Bob Binney and Randy McCaffrey. And then the next time I wanted to meet Philip and Russell Koopman, and all the people on here, Charlie, all the people that you get to meet that aren't necessarily those YouTube stars, but you just like the friends you've gotten to meet on here. So hopefully we'll get to kind of build a little bit more of that again this year.
I mean, honestly, my opinion is to meet those YouTube stars, whatever, is great, but the best place to meet them at is smaller events, like smaller, not B club meetings, but smaller conferences, state conferences, things like that, because you can actually like get to them and have more than 5 seconds to talk to them.
Right. And just think of how overwhelming it is for someone like that. If you're not an extrovert, all 3 days straight of trying to be on with people that you don't know. Yeah. So I could, if that was me, I'd be hiding. Like, all right, I do my social stuff. Like, that's what's great about the farmers markets. I have that social connection once, twice a week, and then I can go be by myself for 5 days and kind of recharge and then get ready to socialize again. I'm not a very social person, so it's not something that comes naturally to me. So it takes that recharging when I do it.
Yeah.
Brian, it's funny you mentioned that about meeting people. There's a guy in the chat right now. I've seen him on other chats before Nobby, before the Nobby this past January.
Yeah.
Seen him in the chats, and we've even chatted, where do you live, blah, blah, blah. And I'd say, you're Franklinton, and he'd say where he was at. And so we're not that far apart. We didn't actually meet each other until Nobby. And now we both go to different meetings. I go to one he goes to in Mississippi, and he comes to one that I go to in Franklinton. That's Russell Almond.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right. Deep South Russell. That's cool.
Yep. But I had to go all the way to Nobby to meet him for the first time.
Yep. Randy on here said he met all of us there at Nobby. I got a picture
right.
of him. I remember that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And then, well, I got lucky at Nobby because I had some stuff I needed to get into the Highs for Heroes booth. So I got them to sneak me in. So while I was there, we got everything set up. I was just hanging out talking to people. I got to meet Fred Dunn and Jeff Horshoff and who else? You know, they were all just walking around before the thing started. So I got all that famous stuff out of the way before and then I let everybody else come in. I never saw the long line. Then I went back out and came back through the line, got my stuff and all that. But yeah, I was a little worried they were going to kick me out because I didn't have a thing around my neck or anything there for a while. Didn't have a pass. But yeah, that was cool.
So, Philip, you're going this year?
I still got to get my ticket, but yeah, I need to go. I just got to figure out. I've got to figure out.
Oh, you went mute.
It's a secret.
Oh gosh, yeah. I'm going.
Okay.
I've got to figure out if I'm going to fly, if I'm going to drive. Depends on if I want to buy a bunch of stuff or not. I do want to buy a bunch of stuff, but I don't know how much to justify that trip. Of course, you're driving, right?
No, we're going to fly out and take a rental back. That's what we decided on. So we're going to buy stuff. We'll load up. We're going to save the drive out there. We wanted to get there the first, spend a little bit of time kind of settling into that, that day and not have to deal with driving for 2 days. I have a bad back and bad neck, so I would show up not feeling great already if I spent 2 days driving, and 6 hours on a plane is way better than 2 days driving for me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. And I was going to go to ABF. Actually, we were looking for a second delegate for our Colorado and nobody else could do it. Like I was trying to keep my mouth shut the whole time. Nobody else could do it. And finally our vice president called and said, "Can you do it? We can't find anybody." So I went, okay. And then 2 days later, someone else was like, "I can make it work." So I went, "It's yours." So I'm not going to ABF.
That's at the same time, isn't it? Or is it?
No, it's the week. It's the week after in Reno, Nevada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing where, like, if you're a delegate at the state, you get a stipend, so they pay your kind of way up to a point. You hand in all your receipts and all that kind of stuff.
On Charlie's chat last night, before you got in, they were talking about, and I think it was, what's his name? He's a migratory keeper. Goes from Kentucky to Florida. Gosh, what's his name? I've lost it. But he was on that.
I know
chat.
you're talking about. Yeah, Rick Sutton.
Rick Sutton. Yeah. Anyway, he said he was going to the ABF.
Yeah.
And then your name came up, and it's when I was trying to make fun of you in the chat, but you weren't there, so I just wasted everything.
That's okay. I'm sure it was good. I'm sure I deserved it all, Philip.
Oh,
You don't have your ticket yet, you said, Philip?
What's that?
You don't have your ticket yet?
I don't have my ticket yet. I don't have a ticket or a hotel. I need to do that.
I don't have the hotel. I may end up sleeping in the truck if I wait too much later.
It's gonna be cold. You sleep in your truck.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. When do ticket prices go up? Because I'm sure they go up pretty soon.
they do go up. I think in November they go up again.
Yeah,
they went up once already.
Better get on it then.
Yep.
I've got a couple of shirts I'm working on. I want y'all to see them, see what you think.
All
I'm
right.
gonna wear this to Nobby if I get them done in time.
Cool.
Nice.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Can you zoom in on the like chest pocket graphic?
Oh, the front.
Yeah. There you go.
I like that.
Is that your logo, Joey?
That the bee is actually the guy that's doing the shirts come up with that bee.
Okay.
It's not the same person that did my last shirts. He said, I'll find you something. So I said,
Nice.
it's not mine. I don't own it. The guy actually just, I think, pulled it off the internet or something. And he said,
Okay.
I'll get you something, let you look at it.
That's cool.
Yeah, it looks great.
All right. I need one of those shirts that say, "Hi, y'all. It's me again." Instead of Joey, put Tommy.
Well, you need to just do them like for other people that just have a blank line and they can like
Yeah.
write their name in or whatever.
There you
whatever.
go. That's
It's
awesome.
me again, the beekeeper.
There
Yeah.
you go.
So you were talking about recharging your batteries earlier and whatnot, after talking to people so long and whatnot, Brian. So
Yes.
it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because after the market thing today, we went inside the bee shop and Tom was in the back doing this with somebody. Like I never imagined Tom, doing that with anybody. And I was in the front waiting for him, and Jane, the owner, and another lady who works up there, I was talking to him. I'm like, where did Tom go? And I'm like, oh, you know what? He's probably back there talking to Scott and Jeff, who were in the back. And I go, you know what? Because they're like, I don't know how he always has energy. Because I said something about, I'm exhausted. When we get home, I'm going to go take a nap. But Tom's probably going to want to go feed bees. And I'm going to tell him, you go right on ahead. I'm taking a nap. And they're like, I don't know how he has so much energy. I go, you know what? What I think it is, why he talks so much, he's like an alternator. He has to talk. And I think it charges him back up. And that's why he never stops talking. Because if he stops talking, his energy goes. So he's got to talk to keep, like an alternator in your car. He's got to keep going to keep getting charged.
So you just need to keep a roll of duct tape handy, huh? If you want to slow him down.
I think
that mouse has to keep running on that wheel.
Yep.
I think it's just that classic difference between an introvert and an extrovert. Like some people recharge by being by themselves. People like Tom recharge by you enjoy being with other people. It's one of the things you love to do the most. You're such a people person. You get good energy from people just by being around them. You can tell that in your interactions with people, right? And you can tell that's what gives you energy. And that's the kind of the difference between extroverts and introverts. It's an extroverted world. And I've learned how to be an introvert in an extroverted world. And being an introvert, like you can't use that as a crutch in your life. You have to go, okay, I'm an introvert in an extroverted world. How can I adapt? How can I turn on that extrovert part of me when it's really important for me to do so and be that extrovert and turn on? Jen calls it like being the teacher Brian. She's like, I can tell when you're teacher Brian and you're just Brian. You just turn on a switch. Right. But it's different energy for different people. And that's just the way people are. It was like kind of like the accents conversation. I love people. I think people are so fascinating. That's what's great about going to markets is getting to people watch all day long.
Yeah.
Brian, when my wife and I go to the elementary schools, we take the observation hive, and she's got her little PowerPoint that she does. I just let her have it. And then she'll throw a question at me to wake me up every now and then. But anyway, she could be having a bad morning and we get up and go to those schools. She's a retired teacher.
Okay.
And when she gets up there in front of those kids, it's almost like she's been recharged all of a sudden. She's in her element.
Yeah.
And we have to tell her when it's time to leave. The bell is ringing.
Yeah.
What
it does her good to go to those schools like that.
I've only done a couple of, I guess I've done 5 presentations, but only 2 different schools. And they're the really young kids, like 5 and below. And what I found is if you take that observation hive, you better keep it covered up if you want any attention out of them, because as soon as they see those bees, it's over. Game over.
Yeah, mine's got covers on it. They don't even know really what it is until it's till the little PowerPoint is over. Then we start showing the bees.
Yeah,
I even got a box like Mr. Ed's got with the snakes in it.
Snake, yeah.
And those teachers want us to do it every stinking time. Oh yeah, bring that. We waiting on that one.
That's funny.
So
the other one I do too with kids is I tell them, I bet you all have your bee stories about how you've got stung or anything. If we all got a chance to tell our bee stories, you're not going to get to hear me talk at all. So save your bee stories for your friends on the playground. Tell that to them later, right now we're gonna talk about bees. Right?
You're
'Cause
gonna
that's what-
hear my
one
bee
time-
story.
Yeah, one time when I was, yeah. One time when I was, they all want to share like their thing about bees, and that's why you can acknowledge it. Yes, we all have a bee story, and put it in the parking lot for later.
You know,
So we do.
it's not.
Go ahead, Joey.
It's it still amazes me, but we've done so many schools that amazes me how much those little kids know about the bees.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we try to follow. They do like the insect and the pollination criteria, and we try to come in right behind that. But I tell you that there's about 80% of those little kids. Every one of them, when you start asking questions, they got that hand up. They know it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I went to
blows
talk
my
at the
mind.
school. Sorry, Joey.
Go ahead. I'm through.
I was going to say, I went to talk at the school I used to teach at last week, and one of the kids said, because we were talking, I do the 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 6 legs, 5 eyes, 4 wings, 3 body parts, 2 antenna, and 1 stinger. So as we were talking about the stinger, he's like, yeah, when it stings you, it kind of goes in and like a sawing motion. So it goes back and forth and back and forth. So I can pull up the YouTube video that he probably saw that taught him that. I think that's one of the things that kids are getting exposed to, this world of information on this YouTube level that I certainly didn't have as a kid, for sure.
That's right.
So what's fun? So we do one of the elementary schools here every year on their like Heritage Day, Farm Day, whatever they want to call it. I can't remember, but we've done this for several years now. So now, like as soon as the kids come in the classroom, because when they leave, I give them all honey sticks, and as soon as they walk in the classroom and see me, they're like, "Did you bring the honey? Did you?" Because I've seen these kids so many times, in a year over the years.
Yeah.
Do you have the honey? Did you bring the honey? Like that's always the first thing out of their mouths. And it actually usually keeps them pretty well behaved because they know I give the honey to their teacher when they leave. And if they're, because I always tell them, well, if you behave and you listen, then I'll give it to your teacher. You know what I mean? So it usually keeps them pretty subdued, but
yeah,
it's fun.
You know-
We're actually doing that this third Friday. Actually, we have to do that one. So
When we first started bringing honey, the first couple of years we didn't bring honey, and then my wife wanted to bring it, and I said, I don't know about that, and she said, well, we'll bring it, and we'll ask the teachers if it's okay if we give them a taste of it after the class, and they all approved it, because I didn't know if there would be a liability or a kid that shouldn't have it or what. They said, no, it's all good. Let them have it.
Well, that's why we do the honey straws, because they have to take those home, and then their parents can decide if they want to let them have it or not.
I told Melissa when she took that, I'm thinking about it, and I hate that you have to be that way, but being in business for so many years caused you to be very cautious in certain ways, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about it, and I told her, I said, hey, and I may have even called her or texted her when she had left. I can't recall. And I'm like, hey, you have those honey straws? And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, you're going to give them to the students? She goes, yeah. And I'm like, do this. I'm like, give those to the teacher. Don't give them to the students. I'm like, at that point in time, we're free and clear. We carry insurance regardless, right? And I'm not really concerned of anything happening, but parents can be very, very particular about their children. And I don't want to be the guy that's the bad guy for any reason whatsoever, even when you're trying to do good, right? So I'm like,
and that teacher knows exactly which ones are the particular parents, if anyone has any allergy issues. Right. So to send it through them is the best way to do it for sure.
Well, last year I didn't video anything. I took a couple of pictures, but I used to video everything, and they gave me permission to video. They would always tell me every kid in here the parents has signed a waiver that they can be recorded or pictures taken at this school.
Yeah. A lot of times at the beginning of the school year now, that's part of the enrollment packet
that's right.
But I'm still leery. I have done a couple of videos and put some pictures in it, and a few little, just a little short videos. But I'm real leery still about doing that because
Yeah. I
Yeah.
usually
I could
post
probably win any kind of lawsuit because of the parents signing off, but why bother?
Yeah,
Why
that's
bother?
right.
I usually take pictures, but it's just I take pictures before the kids get in there just of like my setup and what I brought and things like that.
Yeah.
Just to be on the safe side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, our school was the same. At the registration process, you had an opt out. So if you didn't want your kid like in the yearbook or any sort of pictures or any like in the newsletter, anything like that, that was the time when the parent would be able to select that. Now, if it was December and a parent came in and complained about their kid being on a picture, right, I'd send them down to the office and be like, fill out the opt out. Thank you for letting us know you don't want this. You could have done it at registration. You can still do it now, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
only 1 year we've had one student, and that was like 2 years ago. One student that the parents didn't want to sign a waiver. And it wasn't about us. It's just they signed it that it's not okay at the beginning of the year. It wasn't about us.
Well, and then
Yeah.
you know what you do is you take your picture still and you just put like a big B on that kid's head on their face, and then like they're not there anymore.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of pictures, I have one that I want to see about pulling up here. This is one of a kid like he was in a lake with his floaty.
Golly, he does look like a kid.
See?
That's a baby. That's a baby face right there.
Yeah. That's my buddy. That's my buddy right there.
Man.
I knew the other night his chair was sinking.
He's a handsome looking young man.
He's already gone underwater once.
Yeah.
He
Right.
sure is.
He's definitely a handful, I'll tell you that.
Why is everybody always picking on me?
JW, it took you a minute to realize what you were looking at. I was watching your face there, and it took you a minute.
I won't tell people what I'm thinking about you and your
Hey,
perverted personality.
you can just text it to me, all right? You can offend me on my my text here. Hey, I'm always getting the doctored up black eyes. Somebody else had to take a shot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Melissa's really good at doing the school presentations. I don't even try to get involved in
I've
that.
enjoyed our visits, so let's leave it at that.
Right, and we did too.
I had a customer today come up and asked me if I had any mad honey. And I said, no, I sell local raw honey.
Yeah.
You want to try some?
Mad
It's like, no, mad honey. And I'm like, what's your understanding of what mad honey is? So he started talking about rhododendron. And I was like, first of all, where the rhododendron in Colorado? And I wasn't quite as snarky, but every once in a while you get those people that clearly saw something on like a podcast or something on a TikTok, and it's like hallucinogenic honey or mad honey or something stupid like that. And I'm like, no, we sell local honey.
So kind of on that same thought, what was it? Thursday night, I had a lady come up and wanting to know if we had any Manuka honey.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, Manuka's only in New Zealand or out of New Zealand. And she's like, well, I can't remember what is that number they put, UMF or whatever that number is they put on the Manuka honey. I don't even know what that means. But anyway, she's like, yeah, I only eat Manuka honey and I get it on Amazon. I'm like, well, I go, honey is one of the most adulterated foods, ever. And I go, Manuka honey is the most adulterated honey. I go, so unless you really know who you're buying that Manuka honey from, you're probably not buying, you're paying $30 for, a half pound of that Manuka honey. And it's probably not Manuka honey. She's like, well, it's the healthiest honey there is. So that's what I buy. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Have a great day, ma'am. Enjoy Manuka
He's like,
honey.
and it heals this and it heals that and it does that. I'm like, it's honey.
Yeah, I had a guy today talk about how he said he buys Manuka honey at Costco,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, well, it may be real, I don't know, but I told him, I said, there's more Manuka honey bought than there is made. So
Exactly.
I'll just leave it at that.
I don't know how that works.
The statistic is 3 times more sold annually than is
Oh.
produced.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Maybe
I like to
somebody just has
educate.
a really big stockpile.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a big percentage in honey in general like that too.
Oh, yeah.
More
Yeah.
honey sold than produced.
Yeah.
I
So
wonder-
DC Manuka honey, it does have greater antimicrobial properties than other
Yes.
honeys, but it's
It's
not
been
the
tested.
only honey out there. So different honeys do have different levels of antimicrobial, and Manuka does have a pretty high level of some of these. It's just been tremendously well marketed, so everyone knows of Manuka honey, so they come up to you at the market wanting to buy some. But there have been studies that show that there are other honeys that are just as much, if not more, beneficial for medicinal properties than Manuka honey. They're not all that, but they are in different levels. So that's why it got so famous. And again, it's just really great marketing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what I do. Manuka's a bush. It's grown only in New Zealand. We sell local honey. Do you want to try some?
Yeah.
Local honey's great for your allergies.
Well, the
Well,
thing that was like cracking me up, or what was frustrating about the whole conversation, like she didn't understand what like this is an adult person, wasn't grasping what I meant when I said it's adulterated. She's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, faked. It's not real. She's like, well, but I buy. I'm like, but it's not honey. It's probably not Manuka honey, especially if it's even honey at all.
So I would say something like sometimes rice syrup is added into it to cut it down. Sometimes Manuka pollen is added into a non-Manuka honey so that it comes up as testing positive for Manuka when it's tested. So I would describe some of those doctoring methods to that
and
woman.
I kind of did, but she just was not grasping how. But it's Manuka honey. I'm like, okay. That's fine.
No,
she's already got her facts all figured out. She doesn't need any more facts.
Okay.
She wanted to believe it was what it was.
Do you want to buy some of this, honey?
I'm gonna fact check Brian, because they do have some Manuka forests in the northern Australia regions, because there's a big lawsuit between New Zealand and Australia about whether the Australians can call their honey Manuka honey.
That's true. So yeah, I don't want to get involved in that fight, but you're absolutely right. And part of the arguing is because the dollar amount you can get if you can call it Manuka honey.
That's right.
Yeah. They don't want any more competition there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody brought a
supply
Manuka bush over to Australia. That's how they got Varroa over there now.
Yeah.
On a Manuka bush.
Yep. I probably shouldn't say that. That's gonna be the new thing. It's gonna go wild on the
That's where
internet.
all the mites have been hiding out on the Manuka bush the entire time, waiting for them to transplant it to Australia, and it's all over. It's all gone downhill from here.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to the whole introversion thing. Selling honey at a market, or really selling anything repeatedly, is great practice for the introvert, because you don't necessarily have to think of what to say. You're saying the same thing over and over, and you can revise it and you can tweak it, which I've done over time, but it allows you to have a context. As a beekeeper, you're the expert, and they're coming interested in your topic already. You know, that introverted but willing to talk bees t-shirt, or that saying, right? That's so true. When you're an introvert, but you get in your comfort zone, you're more willing and kind of able to step out of that comfort and be social. So, you know, I look at someone like Alex and LaGrange, and he's such a good beekeeper, but struggles so much with selling honey. I keep encouraging him just to go out and practice. You practice, and that's really what it takes to get better. And it's just just repetition, and you get more comfortable. Just like throwing a baseball, physically you get more comfortable and you do it more naturally. Same thing socially. So you can do it if you're an introvert. Don't use it as an excuse to not do extroverted things in your life. Just learn how to manage it.
Yeah.
All right.
I
I'm off
think
my
it's all about,
soapbox.
I think it's all about reading your customer too. And you can learn and train yourself how to do that very quickly. You know, when
Yeah.
somebody walks up and they seem like that they're kind of wanting to look at you, but not, you'd be like,
Yeah.
hey, how you guys doing today? And they're like, fine. I'm like, man, the weather's really great, isn't it? Or just something stupid or something small just to catch their attention. Right. And as
Yeah.
soon as they answer something more, then they stop or they pause. And then they kind of look at your table and they're like, so what are you selling here? And it's like, well, I'm happy to let you try some free samples here of what we've got, you know? And then you kind of start into a spiel there, or make a couple little things and you can grab their attention. And when you do, at that point in time, they're more likely to buy from you too, you know? So I've had people before say, you know what? I don't even like honey. I haven't had it since I'm a kid. And I'm like, you know what? You're not obligated. You're not obligated to buy a thing from me, but I'm like, can I just change your mind? And they're like, sure. And I'm like, I just want you to try something here. And I'm like, I'm going to show you what I've got. I'll tell you a little bit about some of the basic practices of what we do as beekeepers and maybe a couple of facts that are kind of cool. And then from there, I can't tell you how many people have left with a bottle of our honey that said, I haven't had honey since I was a kid and I don't want any. I'm like, that's cool. You don't have to buy anything from me. Let me just let you taste this and see if you still say the same thing.
Especially if you have them taste the creamed honey first, because it's not like, even though we don't flavor ours, it still doesn't taste like regular honey. Like changing that crystal structure just changes the flavor of the honey. So it's
a lot of people haven't really had real honey. They grew up eating honey from the grocery store, Walmart. But my favorite line that I use to get people to come try it is I always tell them, no pressure to buy, but a lot of pressure to try.
Yeah.
That always, they like if there's a group of them that are trying it and one of them goes, no, I don't want to. I'll just look at them and I'll go, you're breaking my heart. Like that.
Well, what did you do? What did you do last night? You were just like getting scoops of like creamed honey out. There was like a group of people to try, you know?
Yeah.
And he had like one scoop left. And there was one person like, no, I don't want any. He's like, well, I already put it on the spoon. You have to try it now. So.
That's a good one.
Well, if you start, and I noticed before too, if you you have to be standing, first of all, that helps. If you're sitting down and you're on your phone, forget it. People pass you by. You cannot do that. You can't. I mean, there's a point in time when I've stood for so long that I sit down for a minute, but as soon as somebody gets close or walks close to me, I stand right up and I'm like, hey, how you guys doing today? You know, just a simple greeting, just something that just, you know, anything small. And then when I did that, there was a whole group of people there and they're all kind of listening to me and I'm kind of just telling them about it and then dishing out each one of the little samples and such. And there's still plenty of people and I'm counting them out in my head as I'm talking and I'm pass it over and she's like, oh, I don't want any. I'm like, you're not gonna make me put this back, are you? And she's like, oh well, okay, I'll try it. I'm like, you know what, it's a free taste. I'm like, you know what, it'll give you a little pick me up for the rest of the market, right? You got a little sugar intake, you know, it tastes good, you're feeling good, all's well. And believe it or not, sometimes those people, I mean, they end up leaving with a bottle of honey, you know, and I'm like, okay, I mean,
sure.
I always tell them too, some people have said, hey, you know, well, you have a lot to sell here. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to leave with any of this stuff. Okay. All I want to leave with is a pocket full of cash. Buy everything. I have a couple £1,000 more at my house. Okay. You can buy anything here on this table. I don't want to haul it home.
So DC, there's actually a company in Missouri, Joffrey's, GIOFFRIES, I believe, that they make honey ice cream. And then they have different flavors. They have vanilla, chocolate, pistachio, peach. They have all kinds of flavors.
So they use honey as the sweetener. That's a good. I've wanted to do that.
So. I'm sure you can make honey ice cream.
I see Russell Koopman made it into our chat tonight. Russell, I was telling everybody about how I got to meet your wife and daughter today at the market. That was super fun. It was great to get to meet them. We shared a couple of tips, so maybe you'll hear a tip or two coming home on our cream pot. It was so funny because we have a chai infused honey and we're sold out. So we had one customer come up asking about our chai infused honey, and Russell's wife Sharon was like, "Come to Minnesota, we have chai honey." It was great. It was so fun, Russell.
So what do you use to flavor that chai infused honey?
Yeah, so
Do you use like
we
flavor
actually
oil, or what do you use?
no, we actually we'll take a bucket of liquid honey and we'll get chai tea. We'll go to our local coffee shop and we'll buy, it's pretty expensive. It's like £1.50 that we end up putting into, usually it's around 4 gallons of honey. And then it's just a slow infusion process. So it goes in our honey warmer. I turn it, I stir it. And then when the flavor's right, I filter it out. Now you can do this with any sort of infusion. Now I can put that in a jar and do that infused liquid honey. Or I can take that infused liquid honey that has that flavor into it and I can cream it and I can make a creamed version. It's already got the flavor in it. So you can do both things with it. So Russell does the creamed honey version, but they do it differently. Sharon was saying that they add spices into their creamed honey, I believe. And you could do it that way as well, just like a cinnamon creamed honey, just adding the spices you would put in a chai tea in ground up form. Yeah. So you could do it that way too. But you could, same thing with hot honey. You could take honey, infuse it with peppers, and then put it in a jar as a liquid honey, or then take it through the creaming process and then take that flavor into the creamed honey. You can add the flavor before or after the creaming process. It's just different how you would do it.
Yeah. I had a lady today at the market walk up and say, well, it was 2 ladies, and one of them wanted to try the honey and the other one didn't. And she said, what she said was, I have about 4 or 5 different honeys in my pantry right now. And
did you say that's all?
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't. I didn't tell her I have at least 15 different kinds of honey. But I started into on my spiel on how I don't mix the honey together from different locations and all that. And she goes, well, okay, I'll try it. So I gave her a little stick and she tried it. And the first lady, she started buying her honey. And that lady, she reached down and the one lady that wasn't going to get any, she pushed a jar out there and said, I'm going to buy this. And I said, no, you're not. Somebody's got to stop you. And so she goes, I can't stop myself. So she bought a jar of honey anyway. She's got one more jar of honey in her pantry.
My favorite is when someone comes to your booth, but like their friend or partner isn't interested. So they're waiting out there. And then that person tastes the honey and goes, oh, you got to come here and try it. And then they pull them in, and then those conversations you have loudly. So the people around you are starting to hear that conversation. And
Brian breaks out his microphone.
That's right. I don't need it. It's my teacher's voice, Melissa.
Well, it's kind of like at the carnival, the game guys are always trying to
step right up. Come on, folks.
So, oh shoot, what was I just gonna say? Oh, I was gonna say back to the cream and honey thing. Joey, did you get one of those Hilco creamers? Did you buy one of those? No. So I know Brian has. You have a Lyson one, or do you have?
Yeah, I have the Lyson 18-gallon.
So we got the Hilco creamer at Nobby last year, and if anybody's on the fence about getting one, if you do markets, I will tell you right now. I made in August. I think I started jarring my honey. I did 120 pounds.
Yeah, that's right. 10 gallons.
120 pounds of creamed honey. It has all sold except for maybe like 24 jars of it. As soon as I sell that last of it, that creamer has been paid for. Just in less than that's what, August, September, October, like in 3 months, maybe 3 months.
What size?
So that's because we do it in 10-ounce jars. Yeah, 10 ounces of creamed honey and sell it for $15. And so that creamer will have been paid for in 3 months.
But it requires a business model where you're direct to customer, where you're interacting and allowing them to pay.
Definitely.
If it was on a shelf in a store, you're not going to get anywhere near the sales because you've got to educate the customer.
Yeah. I promise you, every person, probably 95% of the people that taste that creamed honey, and we don't flavor ours, just regular creamed honey, that taste it and you're kind of telling them what the process is and what creamed honey is, between 90 and 95% of people purchase at least one jar of it.
Yeah.
What is your upcharge between your liquid and creamed?
Oh, we just figured that out the other day.
We were just
What
talking
was
about
it?
that the other day because we were rough figuring this in our head the other day.
I'll tell
I
you
thought
one second.
it was close to 1.5 times what we would get for normal liquid honey.
Okay.
Because I told Melissa, I'm like, okay, we used how much inside there, you know, in the creamer itself, and I'm like, how much did we sell it for? I'm like, how many bottles did that make, or how many ounces did that make? I'm like, let's do some quick math on this. And I thought when we had done it, I think that it would have paid for that creamer with the first 10 gallons that we had done, plus some. Now that is addition to what we would have gotten from it or for it from just a liquid state, going from a liquid to the cream state. So really not really a difficult process because the machine pretty much does all the work. As long as you start with the good seed, right? You have to get it there. So whether you purchase that or whether you make that seed honey yourself, and then growing the crystals from there is kind of takes place within the creamer itself.
Yeah.
I thought we figured 1.5 times. Is that not right?
Yeah, I think
Should be $12 divided by 16 ounces.
I may have to do that with my Richland honey. I'll have enough eventually to be able to do that. And I think it's so light, it'll make a good creamed honey. I think the lighter honeys do better.
You know, interestingly enough, Philip, we used our dark honey, and it definitely, even though we're not whipping it, it definitely lightens it up. When I show people, I'm like, this is the creamed honey. I'm like, it was made with our dark honey. And then I always too point out, Brian, because we've talked about this before. I'm like, so our dark honey has won 2 different awards this year specifically. One was at our Missouri State. One was at the North American Honeybee Expo. It won this place there. It won this place there. Because sometimes people are like, well, you know, which one should I buy? And I'm like, well, you taste them and you tell me which one you like best. And more often than not, I'm seeing people are starting to choose the darker one over the light, it seems like. And especially once you tell them that like ours has won 2 awards on there, they're me like, well, if people have spoken, that's the one that we want, right? So
I've heard a lot of people say that. A lot of bigger beekeepers than me talk about that people prefer the darker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think now I've heard other people talk about this before, and I can't say for sure because I've never noticed this, but in the past, I've heard people talk about how back in the day, if you will, people generally preferred lighter honeys. They didn't gravitate toward the darker honeys, but it seems like that trend must have been changing because again, we tend to sell more of our dark. And again, you know, you guys have seen some of the pictures that Melissa and I were kind of going back and forth on. Our dark honey is not like dark. It's more of like I would say maybe a darker amber color on the scale. Because we actually got one of those, what kind of scale do they call that?
Jack scale.
Yeah, Jack scale. And we would kind of check it up against different things to kind of see, you know, because sometimes you need to know specifically where you're entering that into a honey show based upon that scale and how they classify it too.
Hey, y'all let me, excuse me, y'all let me say this right quick and we're going to come right back to cream honey because I'm going to forget. Earlier when I first come on, I said I wanted to make an apology to somebody. Well, that somebody has probably never been on my chat. And, you know, sometimes we say what we mean and sometimes we mean what we say. And sometimes we say something that don't mean what we're trying to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
absolutely.
When we came on the other day, somebody had said Kamon Reynolds was on live. And I usually always try to watch his. And if I don't get to watch them, then I go back and watch the replay. But we were talking, the conversation had come up about his schedule. And what I was trying to say was I've never paid his schedule any attention because I thought it was always random. But when I said it, I said I never paid him any attention. And, and I kind of laughed. I kind of laughed after that too. But when I went back listened to the replay, it sounded rude. And I just didn't like the way I sounded on there. And I didn't want anybody to take that wrong. And if they did, I want to apologize because I just didn't say what I was actually meaning to say. Sometimes us old pine knots, I call ourselves out here, we just don't we don't have a full language. Sometimes we just talk in words, broken English. So, but anyway, it didn't mean what it sounded like, and I wanted to apologize. I'm even going to apologize to Kamon about it, and he probably don't even know anything about it. But
I called him. Told him. I was like, "Did you hear what Joey said?" It was.
I didn't notice it. Maybe I wasn't listening at that moment.
I didn't either, but I always go back and kind of watch the replay when I'm not, drinking coffee or whatever, and I go back and kind of watch it, and I usually pick up some more pointers that I missed. And when I got to that part, I said, my jaw dropped. I said, my goodness. I said, that's not what I meant, but that's exactly what I said. It's like I didn't pay Kamon Reynolds any attention. I do. If you need to pay any beekeeper an attention, he's one of them you need to listen to. But that's not what I meant. I didn't pay his schedule any attention because I thought he always was just random coming on.
Yeah, I don't think he's not on a regular schedule. I don't think, is he?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like Joey. I don't pay his schedule. And we're usually busy on Saturday nights or out to eat or something like that.
I thought he was on Sunday nights.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
But I'm talking with Kamon. He stays busy most of the time when you see him at Nobby. I like when we went to the Louisiana thing. We actually got several of us just sit down and talk for like an hour.
Yeah,
just random conversations, and whether he ever knows it or not, I will be apologizing to him when I get to talk to him personally.
Joey, I don't think anybody that knows you would have thought that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm not saying somebody who didn't know you could have potentially thought that, but I would say, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Most people that come on these chats with any kind of frequency that know you, know that would not have been how you meant it. I don't think you mean bone in your body. So.
Oh, Joey, I was just personally.
Unless you're a half beetle, look out for Joey.
But I want you to know that, young man, I'm going to forgive you for that mistake.
It's really been bothering JW this whole time. He's been thinking on it and thinking of it.
Somebody throw him. Oh, he's got a life raft. He's good. He's happy.
If anybody come in while I was talking and don't know what I was talking about, you're going to have to watch the replay and see.
That's right. That's right.
So I was
Joey, I'm gonna forgive you this time, but don't do it again. Don't let that happen.
I was figuring up. We were talking about the liquid honey to creamed honey cost or whatever. So per ounce, our liquid honey is 75 cents an ounce in our 1 pound squeeze bottles. And our creamed honey is $1.50 an ounce.
Okay. So I want to address something on here too. A little bit further up the chat. I just read this. Where was it at? Who was it? Russell? Where did he go? Oh, here, Russell Koopman. He said via the cost of the glass jars negate part of that. I would normally say yes, and you are not wrong. But what we bought. These glass jars that we bought, I bought several cases of this glass, and I got it for very inexpensively. So
it probably averages out to be about the same as the plastic, or maybe even cheaper.
It would have been cheaper.
Yeah.
We bought a lot of this glass from a guy. He had a truckload of it, and I didn't take the whole pallet. And if I would have had room, I would have bought the entire pallet. But we had purchased a lot of glass from this guy, so. I'm saying for probably at least the next 20 gallons.
Oh, at least.
Maybe even more than that, 30 gallons of creamed honey. We'll have the exact same glass from it. So we're actually able to save there. And Melissa and I have been pretty good about purchasing some of that stuff in bulk when it comes to certain containers and things like that. If I need to buy, I don't usually buy the glass by the thousands, but this one we did happen. It was a good deal and we knew it. So we jumped on that. So, but typically you're right. Glass does cost more than your plastic containers.
Roy had a question about the seed to start a batch. So when Brian gets back, he can tell you how he did his. So the first time I did creamed honey, I actually made my own seed with some of our crystallized honey. I think Tom and the boys were gone that evening, and I was just watching a movie. I sat for like 4 hours with a mortar and pestle and ground this honey down until I got it the perfect consistency that like it was so super smooth. I loved it.
And you ate all that and had to do it again.
No, it took me because I only did like, it was only like maybe, I don't know, a quarter cup. It's not much because it's hard to like really grind that down, and it gets really thick when it turns into a paste and you get it so smooth and whatnot. So after that, you know, you have to add the liquid honey to it at like a certain ratio. And it took me like a few weeks to even get enough to like be a substantial amount enough to even make like a 5-gallon bucket of it. Right. And it was great. And then I wasn't using the dice method. So you're supposed to heat your liquid honey to make sure you have it absolutely completely uncrystallized. And then let that completely cool and then add your seed to it. And I wasn't doing that at the time. And I think there must have been some larger crystals. I was just getting it out of the bottling tank because I'm like, oh, that's uncrystallized enough. And I think some larger crystals got in there and completely ruined my seed after like the second batch. So I was like, I am not grinding honey for 6 hours again. So we actually bought some seed honey. It's just a gallon tub of creamed honey from, it's actually called Cox Honey Farms, COX Honey Farms. And they mailed it to me. And that's what I started this batch we currently have going or are selling with that. Brian, how did you start? Where did you get your seed, or how did you start yours?
You're muted.
I was getting instructions from the wife there. Sorry. I did the same way, mortar and pestle, 4 hours. In fact, I love telling people that at the market when I'm describing how to make creamed honey. I'm like, you can do this at home. You can take honey that's crystallized and sit there, and you'll watch the color slowly lighten as those crystals get smaller and smaller. So yeah, that's what I do. I hear there's this one company out of Lakewood, Colorado. You could get your seed honey from them. They have a really good.
Is it called Flower Street Farms?
I think so. Yeah, I have to check it out, but that sounds familiar. Yeah, so you can either buy a seed, so you can go to a store and find a really good creamed honey that you like. But I'm such a traditionalist. I want to make.
That's how I wanted to do, but then after it got ruined, I'm like, I'm not doing that again. That took way too long. So do you use the dice method when you make your creamed honey?
No, I don't heat it up. I just try to make sure that honey has been liquefied very well. I have a honey warmer. I've been using that. I just got a Maxant wax melter as well that you can melt a 5-gallon bucket with as well. Oh, it's been so nice to process beeswax. It streamlined everything.
Man, you stepped up your game.
No, that was like $1,000. That wasn't that much.
Yeah,
that's like a 10-gallon wax melter. But I do want to get the wax spinner at Nabby this
So
January.
it's double. It's water jacketed or double.
No,
it's not. Okay.
It's just got the heat element in the bottom. You can melt wax. You can process wax a whole lot easier than the little wax melter thing that I was. The thing I was using, right?
Yeah.
The little. It's like a gallon and a half it can hold. And then it can melt a bucket of honey pretty nicely too. So I just try to make sure it's liquefied enough, Melissa. And honestly, I would love to be able to get some sort of almost like a crescent shaped strainer to be able to pour the honey into the creamer through a strainer so it'll hold any crystals. That would be really nice.
Yeah.
But I just try to make sure it's as liquefied as possible. I don't do that dice where I bring it up to that pasteurization level and then drop it back down really quickly.
Yeah.
I just try to make sure that honey I add is liquid.
Hey, can I change the subject just for 1 second? We can come back to that. So Lee's had a picture posted there on the kind of in the background there for a minute of something that I found the other day that I thought might be kind of interesting to folks. If Lee, you want to pull it up here. So I want to start by saying this was near a newer apiary that I started up this year. And I just happened to catch it in a cedar tree that was roughly about I would say maybe 15 to 20 yards from where I keep a bunch of hives at. And I have actually never seen an open air hive in my area of the St. Louis area. And I thought this was really interesting and really cool. We already had 2 frosts this week when I had seen this, and it kind of barely caught my eye. And when I first seen it, I was not thinking an open air honeybee colony, but I kind of caught the glimpse of that little tannish color. And I assumed when I had seen it as I was feeding bees, that it was actually probably a hornet's nest or something, because often predators like that can build nests near honeybee colonies for easy pickings. But I happened to see this, and I thought this was really interesting. Again, we don't typically see this in the St. Louis market, or the St. Louis area rather. And I don't know, kind of worth a little show and tell there, but kind of goes to show you anything can happen anywhere, I guess. I would seriously doubt these bees are going to make it through the winter here, but if I actually happen to have time, yeah, I mean, if I can grab a hold of some extra, I may actually go out there with a ladder and cut them down and put them in a box just for the experience of having dealt with one like that, just to see what they do there. We've done cutouts from buildings and structures, which I don't think is quite the same, because they have some sort of usually there's some kind of climate control there within the structure. But I don't know. This was pretty fun. I thought it was pretty cool. And I guess Melissa sent the picture of the Lee. So
how high up is it?
Roughly about 15, 16 feet.
It's up there.
Yeah. So I have one of those telescoping ladders that you can set up to an A-frame. And I'm thinking I can probably get close. If not, if it's going to be too sketchy, I'm just going to let them ride and see how long they go, But I mean, it's probably too little too late to try to save them, this year. And normally I don't try to mess with stuff like that. But it is
Pretty
probably
good cluster there.
It did seem like it was a good cluster, and it seemed like they've been there for a minute, because there's a lot of drawn comb on those branches there. So, all right, we can go back to the creamed honey thing. That was an interesting topic. And I think people sometimes should, if they do sell just liquid honey, people should start to dabble in that just a little bit. I think it's worth the value add that you get out of it. And that doesn't mean you have to do, markets. I mean, I would say it's probably a really good spot to start. Like Brian said, some people just are not very familiar with creamed honey. So if you, educate your customers is always key.
That's right. You need to go out there right. You need to go out there right now. Get Melissa to have the camera, and you guys go get those right now. And we need to watch.
Well, it's about a 25-minute drive for me to get out there.
We'll wait.
I have to beat through it's on an 80-acre farm out there that they only go out to on the weekend. So they may or may not even be out there on the farm. It's pretty dark out where this is at. Near a riverway actually out there too, and it's kind of in some thicket type area. So you'd probably
it's getting better all the time for us.
I know you'd probably see me falling down the hill and falling off the ladder, and you hear me crying in the background, holding myself.
So Tom, would you shake them onto drawn comb, or would you try to salvage that comb at this time of the year?
If I could salvage maybe a piece of it that had some, just a little. I'm less concerned about the honey resource, honestly, because I can duplicate that pretty easy with some extra comb that I've got, and even some pollen frames. So I'm not even concerned about that. What I would be concerned about is them not having any brood in there at that point. So if I could salvage maybe a piece or two that had some pretty good brood on it, I would try to salvage that, just to make them feel like they're at home at that point, So I don't know. Like I said, we've been through a couple of soft freezes here that kind of got down borderline to that 30, 32 mark. And it was probably only there for a few hours overnight. But, I just thought it would be fun and interesting to do, just seeing what Mother Nature does without our help, and they just landed on the branch and they never found a home. So I can't remember that any of our hives out there going queenless, but at the time that I sent them out there, I did have one honey super on each one of them, and they had started filling at a location, but the girls that I moved out to that location moved from a different one that the property was selling. So I needed to move them, and I chose to do it a couple weeks early because I'm like, by the time they start loading these honey supers up, I'm like, I am not going to want to move these colonies.
And I'm not going to be able to help them with them.
Right. So we moved them out there and kind of interrupted right in the honey flow, or the tail end of the main part of our honey flow. So, but they actually did very well out there, and there was actually a little bit of a fall flow for them out there too. So I don't know what colony it would have come from, because all the colonies out there look fine. So whichever one it was requeened just fine, or it's possible that there was a swarm from somewhere else too, I suppose. But I don't know. It was kind of interesting to see that. I like to see what Mother Nature does without our influence.
Yeah.
So what are the green wafers Ian had in his last video? I don't remember.
Oh, that was the Appa-Life Var.
Life Var.
Yeah, I didn't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah. It's kind of a tongue twister there.
That's the one
Got
that the
time
bees.
all.
That's the one that they were actually building propels around it, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah, they didn't like it.
No. The bees will do the exact same thing around that thymol-based apagard. If you give them a chance, some of those colonies will build, a wad of that gum around there, basically.
I think he actually had the name of that in his description, maybe, or somebody had put it somewhere, because I saw it, and I said, "How in the world do you pronounce that?" But
So
I can't remember where I saw it.
I have a question for the group. 2 or 3 days ago, I was walking by my bees, and I have a garden, and it's got just a little, it's like a 2-foot high fence around it, maybe 3 foot high, and it's just to keep rabbits out. But on that fence was a ball of bees about as big as my fist, maybe a little bigger, not as big as a softball, and it was one of those little caste swarms. You could tell right away. So I ran my finger around in it, and sure enough, there was a little virgin queen running around. So I decided that I was like, these are really too small to make it. There's no way. And so I was going to catch the virgin and just take her away and hope the others would fly back. But when I was trying to catch her in my queen clip, I injured her.
Uh-oh.
She wasn't dead, but she was injured. So I just set it on top of the fence, and some of the bees came over and started tending to her. And then I kind of forgot about them, and it got cold here, like 48 degrees, not real cold, but maybe 46. And then I went out like 2 days later, and all the bees were gone except for just enough bees to cover that queen. We're still filling that clip.
Wow.
And so I opened it up and shook it out, and she was dead as she could be at that moment, but they weren't leaving her. But my question is, does that mean one of my colonies was also making a new queen, or could they have kept their queen and the virgin hatched and left? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah,
That's a good
all
question.
the above.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going digging through and looking, but it just crossed my mind,
Yeah.
and I might have a queenless colony out there somewhere.
Mhm.
Everybody's got plenty of bees and flying pretty good.
Yeah, because typically when you find little casts or swarms or whatnot that have virgins in them, it's because there are multiple swarm cells in a colony. So
Right.
that's what you would think. But this would be a really weird time of year for something like that, unless they were requeening for some reason.
Yeah, queen could have just died. Yeah.
Multiple of them hatched, and I do
have one. I do have one that's not as strong as it should be, and I might need to look in that. It could have come from there, maybe. But.
Yeah, because really, that's the only time you find virgins and little caste swarms like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think I have any drones around, period, now.
Mm-mm.
I was to a few hives yesterday, and I've not seen a drone anywhere.
We have them, but there are very few. Very few.
I did that. The colony under the hive that I show every now and then, I kind of flash over there to them, the open air colony. I finally got them removed, and I actually wanted to post it this weekend, but I had 2 hours of raw footage, and I finally got it down to an hour. I'm still trying to cut it down more, but I said all that to say this: I saw 2 drones in that whole colony.
Yeah.
I feel like we usually still have drones in our colony at this time of the year.
There might be some of them, but a lot of them they'll boot them out. Especially when those the light output drops. So, you're not having as long of days, and then you get a little chilly temps. They'll boot them out pretty quickly.
But I mean, I feel like when I do the presentation at this elementary school, there's usually some drones still in those colonies, and I don't think we have like any now. I haven't seen any in the last few hives we've gone through, anyway.
I don't know who was in here earlier when I was talking about the video I just posted. When I got through, they almost got robbed out. I don't know if y'all were in here yet or not, but I closed them up and fixed all that. But I didn't know. I'd been having a flow, and I didn't know the flow had shut down. But it kind of dawned on me the day before, the little hive that I have on the little fake porch that's on my pump shed. It looks like a little store. They were pulling out drone larvae, not larvae, but pupa. And I said, well, cold weather's coming. And that very next day is when I started removing, inspecting that little nuke. And that robin almost started. It should have told me then that the flow had stopped. But I didn't. It just didn't dawn on me. But yeah, they pulled, it was at least 12, 15 drone pupa laying on that little porch. I started to video that, but I figured I might get a strike against me. Showing dead larvae.
Dead drones.
Joey, I got a question for you.
Oh,
when
no.
do you start seeing drones in your colony in the spring or late winter, I guess?
Late February, I see the drone cells actually being laid in.
Okay.
And it goes back and forth a couple of weeks one year and to the next.
Yeah.
But usually around the second week of March, on an average, I've got drones walking around on the comb.
So that's when you'll typically start queen rearing?
Yeah, well, I don't do much queen rearing, but I start doing all my splits then, usually around. Okay. I always just set generically March 1st as my split day, or the closest I can get to that, because they're already making drones at that time.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah. Now, just south of me, Mr. Ed, just south of me, he's probably already seeing drones when mine are getting capped.
Okay.
He's only about 45 minutes from me if there's no traffic.
So maybe a week ahead of you?
Yeah, about a week, 10 days.
Okay.
Yeah. Give or take.
Okay.
That claims 10 days, 10 days per 100 mile. Ain't that kind of the old school standard, what old timers say?
I don't know. It could be, but he's getting swarms when I'm just getting ready to make splits sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. I really don't.
That's why I like to watch Mike Berry and Joey's videos, because I get 2 weeks later, I get almost identical.
Anticipate what's coming at you.
Yeah. I set my 2 weeks on that. That's what I go off of.
And Melissa, my date for making splits is usually around April 15th. Is that around the same as you?
I would say so. Probably between the 1st and the 15th, you know.
Yeah. It depends on that April. It's so
exactly.
variable.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Middle of April to the third week in April is the big swarm week for me. It has been the last 2 years. That's when I catch all my swarm traps will be full of bees.
Yeah.
And that might be some reflection on my beekeeping, but that it's happened the last 2 years.
I don't know. I'm interested to see what this winter and the spring bring, because last spring was just insane around here. It was just like everything was swarming and kept swarming, and we even split things, a couple times, and they were still swarming. It was just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to do that, Russell.
Or- we see.
I remember that, Melissa. We had the same issue. Like you were like, "Okay, I'm done. No more."
Oh, I
And
was. I was
like,
so
"Yep."
dumb. I'm like, I don't
Yep.
even care anymore.
Yeah.
So Melanie says they see drones end of February
Okay.
in North Florida.
North Florida. Okay.
Yeah.
And Russell says they do splits the first week in May in Minnesota.
Wow.
So that kind of would follow that,
Yeah.
pattern.
And then JW, are you north or south of Melissa and Tom?
About the same.
Okay.
Yep.
And is
He's
your-
about the same line as us, Brian.
And is your date about the same for making splits?
I made 2 last year, right about the middle of March, actually. I started
Wow.
making some splits.
Yeah,
I made 2.
You probably could have. Yeah, in March. When did we start making splits?
I made 2 in March last year, 2 extra splits according to my records.
Yeah.
Is that typical or is that an
I'd
anomalous
say
year?
it's normally a little early,
Okay.
Did you give them queens or did you let them make queens?
I'll make queens.
We did the same.
I do if I can. If I have to be in a tide or want some new genetics influence. I actually got some nukes. I wanted to try some carnations and carny crosses, so I bought some
Flowers.
I bought a couple I bought some queens from Lappies in Iowa that were carnies, and I bought I think 3 packages off of Greg Burns. Went out and picked them up in Ohio on his Caucasian influence. And I've had so far things are going good with both ones. I want to see how they winter. And
Yeah, I was thinking about ordering some queens from Hawaii, and I was gonna try to get them to arrive right around the middle of March.
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Southern Queens, or I think most of the Lappy stuff comes out of California, though, that they commercially.
Look, he's drowning. He went under.
He sank.
Oh, he's back.
My doggone life raft has got a hole in it or something. I keep
His life raft has a hole in it.
I come back up. I was scratching my leg, Melissa. I'm not. My little old camera is just a little old sheet right here. That's the reason I'm so pretty.
Are you saying you got a hole in your P-row?
He already threw the dog overboard. I mean, the dog's gone.
That's
So much for being his best friend.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying no attention to what I was talking. It wouldn't. But that's what I, being an old cattle breeder, I believe in doing a little outcrossing. I buy some. Sometimes I'll buy a package just to get some outcross for drones. I believe the drones are a big factor. That's just old school way I think.
Mm-hmm.
Drones
Well,
are a big
definitely
factor in your breeding programs, whether you make queens or whether you raise your own queens.
Well, the drones is like one of the main reasons why we like to get Corey's queens for the drones, so they mate with the other queens in the area, and populate those DCAs with that Varroa resistant.
Yeah, that's
genetic.
probably the best way to spread that.
Well, that's my belief, and that comes from comes from breeding cattle for 60 years. So I don't know. That's the way I think, and it works for me. I'm not saying that's what you should do, but that's what I do.
March.
So when you asked about queens and making splits, the earliest ones I've done that on would have been this year, and I had a couple of queens left over on March 22nd. So I must have done it probably maybe March 20th, March 21st.
Yep.
So that was pretty early, and I will say that my acceptance was not phenomenal. I don't think it was, but maybe 60%. And that was with purchased mated queens. Those were a
that's
Minnesota
right.
hygienic from that
Texas.
they were out of Texas. I went in with another beekeeper around here, and he had to get an order of 50. So I can't remember. I think I can't recall, 10, maybe 11.
It was really weird because that was like, because they were mated. It wasn't like they were virgins, but to have mated queens not be accepted. It was like really weird.
Yeah.
Russell, we are going to start experimenting with some flavored creamed honeys this winter.
We've been asking Brian for some advice since he's kind of
picking his brain, the expert,
the expert here with that.
We will have, what I really want to do is, so we've got a batch of that bourbon barrel honey that JW loves so much. We're gonna save him a few gallons of it.
Mm-hmm.
But so we have that going in the garage right now. I am interested in taking some of that.
Brian hadn't even opened it.
Oh, is that from you, Philip?
You're muted, yeah. I gave him that when he came down.
I'm afraid to open it. It'll devalue it.
It'll
Right? This
devalue
is award-winning honey.
Yeah, one of those jars is award-winning. And Joey's got the same honey from the previous year. He was just showing off there.
Yeah,
There you go.
I just had some.
That's all rigged deal.
Has that crystallized at all, Joey?
No,
Oh, really?
Not a
Okay,
bit.
good.
it's good too.
Uh,
That's that one that the little boy said it tastes like Manuka honey, didn't it?
Manuka.
Maybe.
The real stuff or the adulterated stuff? Which one?
It tastes like fake Manuka honey. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
But what I was saying is I am interested in taking some of that bourbon barrel honey and making that into doing like a batch of that as creamed honey. So I think that, and giving it to JW because I know how much he will enjoy that.
That's gonna be his Christmas present.
Yep.
It's got bourbon in it. I'm not interested. I don't mean to be offensive, but
I see Ian in here. I just telling somebody today he's the hardest working man I know. I
Yeah.
believe that. Anybody that owns a farm that has 3 phases to it: beekeeping, cattle, and growing crop.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he has time to do anything else.
He gets a little break. He gets a little bit of break in the winter, except he does have to get out and clear snow.
Well, yes, that's another one, isn't it? No
Yeah.
cloud.
I think that's kind of a family operation. I think Dad and he's got a couple brothers that's involved also. I think Joy. That's just my take on it. I don't know them personally.
I still got to make a video, and I've even practiced it, but I'm willing to make a video. And in my opening, it's got to get cold enough, which is only probably 2 months away. I got my wood poker, and I'm poking the front of my wood stove. It doesn't even have glass in the front of it. Just like Ian pokes the logs and on the beginning of his. And,
Oh yeah.
but I'm
For your
searching for something. Yeah, I'm searching for something real Canadian to say as I'm poking the front of my wood stove. It's just
Hey,
a cast iron wood stove. Yeah, Ian probably he probably can't go to Thanksgiving dinner unless he gets some work in with the family farm.
That's a good idea, Roy. Ian coming in here late. He don't know what you're talking about.
That's funny. That's funny. That's a good one.
I want to go back to that open hive. I'm with Melanie. Tom, that hive won't stand a chance unless you try to
Yeah,
help.
you should have been gone. You should have already been there. You'd almost been there if you'd left when I recommended it.
Well, we can go right now. It wouldn't be the first time that we took the live on the road. So
You know what? We aren't. You can. I'm tired. I don't want to go in there.
Y'all have to draw
you're tired.
straws.
You've been talking for an hour now. You should be recharged.
My alternator's still recharged.
Y'all have to draw straws on who's going to hold the big bright flashlight and who's going to put it down.
I guarantee you, I've left a couple of them in the past. The first cool rain we get this fall, they'll be gone.
Yeah. And
They can't stand the wet. It's what'll get them.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be nice this week. We got in the upper 70s, 80 degrees on Monday. or not Monday, on Friday. So that they'll be fine this week. So if we get some time this week, we'll probably go out there and.
If you leave them, if you got to where you go out there and put some kind of a dome over the top of them, or cover for the weather break from them, they might.
I'll get them an umbrella. I'll get them an umbrella to put up there.
I don't know if any that's actually made it down here in the South Louisiana.
Yeah.
It'd have to be way down south to make it.
What gets them is the wet, is the rain. I've left a couple in the past, you know, in trees or woods, and they first rain they're gone.
Yeah, I know.
Go rain.
JP the bead man, I think he had one that was under a house he removed. It had been there a while.
Oh,
but,
yeah,
they were out of the wind and the rain and everything.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll do an experiment with them and just put something up there to cover them up and see how long they survive.
Well, I can't imagine that they have enough food up there. When I was looking at the branch and the comb, where they were clustered is probably the only food that they've got. And there's no way they'll survive with 1 or 2 combs of food here in our region. So they would die out anyway.
Well, if you decide to get them, don't do what I did. I had a real small one. It was probably that big, that built an open air colony on the bottom of a swarm trap. I gave them a perfectly good swarm trap to move into, and they built it on the bottom. So all I did, the way my swarm traps, they stack, they're like 4-frame nukes that stack. So I just took that bottom piece and set it in the top of another box. So they're hanging if you can imagine, they're hanging down. And then from the top of that box, I because I have little vent holes in the very center, I put some feed on them. And then I just closed them up and left them there for winter. And I came back in the spring and they had made it. I couldn't believe it. They survived. But then I didn't check on them for about 3 weeks when the spring was kicking off, and they starved out. I felt real guilty about that they made it that long, and I let them die off. If I'd kept fed them, they probably would have made it. But yeah, if you don't forget to feed them in the spring, if you go out there and save them.
Hey, Russell has a comment here that probably would be worth. Where I just lost it. Doggone it. Where'd it go?
Russell Koopman.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna pull this one up, Joey.
Okay.
Will 2 gallons of Pro Sweet fill up the hives? I doubt it.
Who's asking?
No.
What's Carl say?
Yeah.
Be close. Most are 70.
So the nice thing about Pro Sweet is I believe it's, if I'm not mistaken, when I researched it, I think it's either 77 or 78% solid. So the moisture content would still be a little bit high. They would have to dry it down, but not much. And I'm not sure. You guys might help me out. Where's Russell at?
Russell's in western Minnesota.
So he's definitely much chillier than we are here.
Yeah. Melanie said you're making her cry. Can you please stop?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think Melanie and Dennis need to drive up here to St. Louis, and we'll create a video together. So you guys come on up here.
They can be there. They should be able to be there by noon tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. It's only let's see,
18.
No. It's a 12 and a half hour trip from their house to mine.
Yeah, y'all be done with that open air colony by then.
Oh no, I'm not leaving. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to sleep.
I may go to bed while we're on.
So I want to give you guys an example of how nice Russell Koopman is. I met him at Nobby, and I gave him some honey, and then I gave him another jar of honey to give to Mike because they're both in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
And he just smiles and says, "Yeah, I'll take it to him." And then Mike lets me know he lives on the other side of the state from Russell, and Russell didn't even blink. He just took the honey to take to Mike. I'm like, oh man, I felt terrible.
I gave Russell honey to give to Mike too.
Oh, it'll get there.
Yeah.
I would think if he's 70% full, I think 2 gallons would do it.
We just mixed up 2 to 1 yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was going to go put it on this afternoon, but Melissa's killing my mojo over here, saying how she's going to be done and not go out, and then I lose steam. And
well, apparently he didn't talk enough to charge his.
That's just your theory. That doesn't mean it's the truth, babe.
So
How
I got
many
a
people?
question.
How many people in the chat think my theory is correct? Let's put it that way.
Oh, not getting involved. But I do have a question. Did you guys get the Ceracell frame feeders? Weren't we having a conversation about those at one time?
Ceracell has we don't have
Okay,
Ceracell frame feeders.
Motherload.
We have Motherload and we have the Greek one.
Oh, yeah, Minnesota. See, I called.
The Enel ones. Maybe
Michigan.
that's
The
Yeah.
other ones are Man Lake.
Do you like those?
So
Which
yes
ones do you
and no.
like better? Okay.
Okay, so I'll tell you what I found. So the Enel ones use a hard plastic and it has a seam all the way down the middle. Now, so far they've worked fine, but my fear is this: if they're going to crack or break, where would you suspect that that's going to happen?
Right.
Right in that seam.
Yep.
The second thing that I don't like about them is they have little plastic floats that sit inside there, which actually work pretty well.
Okay.
They also have 2 tabs on the end bars that hold them in where the frame rest goes. It holds them there. And the one thing I noticed, the downfall, I was using those inside of our nukes, and I wanted those because they only take up one actual frame width. And I hate that the other ones take up like 1 3/4 and you got to squeeze them in there.
Yeah.
So I don't like that. So I don't like the hard plastic because I feel like that's going to fail me at some point. And also,
They're about $11 a piece too.
yeah, about 11.5 if you buy them by themselves.
Anyway, sorry.
So we actually have telescoping covers on our 5-frame nukes, and I use that Reflectix double bubble stuff underneath there. So that basically puts the double bubble almost to the top of the frames when it squishes down a little bit.
Yeah.
The Enel frame feeders come up almost as high so it almost blocks them off. And I couldn't figure out, I'm like, why are they not taking the syrup down? It's starting to ferment. And I'm like, I can't get it. And then I realized on the edges, they built some propolis. They were almost closing the gap off. So they have hard access to get in there. So I actually bought several.
Did you mean to say migratory lids, not telescoping?
Yes,
lids?
I'm sorry. I meant migratory.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
I'm sorry. Because if I'd have had inner covers, that would have solved that problem. And I don't. I just have migratory top covers.
Right.
So that was the thing that I noticed. So what I did was I was thinking of an idea that I wanted that, and I thought about first building some built-in shims on my migratory covers. I'm like, I don't know if that's going to work. I don't like that idea. So they actually sell a shim at our local beekeeping place. That's like a 3/4 1-inch shim, and they use them for putting on top of nukes when you want to put down an ApiGuard treatment on there. And I'm like, that's perfect. I'm like, I like that. So I bought like 40 of them, and I'm going to use it for ApiGuard treatments. I'm going to use it for putting pollen patties on when necessary. And then I'll also use them too when I have the feeders in them. That way the bees can climb up and over. So there'll be a little bit of space in there for them. So I'll just add them to it. Not really a big deal. So the biggest thing I like about them is they only take up 1 frame space.
Yeah.
The negatives are, again, with my lid configuration, it was kind of closing them off. I don't like the hard plastic. I feel like that's going to fail me. And I don't like how the tabs are. They look really brittle and they look like they're going to snap at some point. So I fear that. They haven't at this point. The thing that I like about mother load feeders is he offers a couple different, you can do either completely open, or you can do the cap and ladder from the outside going down, or he has them to where he moves the cap and ladder in about 2 or 3 inches on each side. So it puts them a little further in. So he has a few options with those. They're flexible. So, I mean, you can pull them out of the hive and stand on it and you're not going to crack it because it has some flexibility to it. Also, where the frame rests are at, whenever you see it doesn't go straight across with the frame rest, it actually dips down a little bit for the feeder itself. So even if I had that double bubble on top of there with the migratory lid, the bees can still climb in and out of that with great success, with no problems.
Thank you.
But
I have a bunch of the Man Lake ones, those cap and ladders. I have a bunch of the Mother Load with the outside troughs, and their new design, the one much like the Man Lake in the middle. I haven't tried those yet. I do like the Man Lake ones better. I'm just looking at sales, and they sell like a 2-gallon one on
Yep.
sale for Nabby, and I normally get the 1-gallon one. Do you have an opinion about the new type of mother load? Have you used the ones with the cap and ladder in the middle part?
So I haven't used those yet, and Nick from Mother Load actually sent me a couple of the 1.5-gallon ones, which actually take up 2 frame spaces, which
Okay.
will be great until I build a nuke out past 3 frames.
Yeah.
Because then I need to pull that out and use something else. So I don't want to keep using 500 different pieces of equipment to solve a problem. I like to have one, something that's simple.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm still kind of.
Let's pause. So in all of our 8-frame equipment, because we run all 8-frame, we use hive top feeders. The only thing that we use the frame feeders for is in nukes.
Okay.
So,
okay. Yeah, so I use them a little differently. Every one of my double deep 8 frames has a frame feeder in it. And I'm almost getting to the point where I'm going to have every box has a frame feeder in it. So I might have a brood chamber with like 12 or 14 frames in 2 boxes with the frame feeder on each in each box.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to find which one works best for me.
Yeah.
And I know I remembered that conversation we had about that width you were looking for. So I was looking to see which ones.
What do you not like about the mother load, Brian? If I may ask.
I find that the bees drown a little less in the Man Lake one. I find that they propolize the holes in the trough a little bit less in the Man Lake one as well. So I'm not sure if it's the plastic insert that the Man Lake makes is the difference, or the location or what. But I found that over time, those mother load ones with the outside troughs, they can get propolized pretty solidly. Myself digging into it with my hive tool just to rip open some of those.
Can you dissolve that?
I've got both also, and I actually like the mother load better than the Man Lake. The Man Lake, you're talking about the boards with the plastic, holes with the plastic deal down in them.
So talk about that, JD. Why do you prefer the one? Sorry, JW. Why do you prefer the one?
I like them better because I have worse drowning problems in the Man Lake ones than I do the mother load. With the little serrated edges, where the bees can go down. It's just difference in the printing. That's the reason I asked why you like the ones better than the other ones, was because I was basically leaning towards the mother load ones.
And I've used the open trods. I've put sticks in there, and I've had bees drown in them, and they say they're going to drown if there's something wrong with the colony, but that's not how I'd like to diagnose an issue with the colony, is a whole bunch of drowned bees that I caused. And part of my rationale and the way I feed in the frame feeder, or the feeders I use, is because of my back issues. I'm trying to make those boxes as light as possible, so those frame feeders stay in my boxes all year long. I don't pull them out. So that top box, if I'm picking it up, usually it's 7 frames full of whatever and an empty frame feeder. So that's just part of how I deal with my janky body.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea. It simplifies processes,
Yeah. And this was actually, we visited, you were there, that commercial yard we went to for the summer college.
Yeah.
That's where I saw they keep 10 frame boxes. Every box has a frame feeder in it. And I heard the rationale, and I was like, you know what, that works for what I can do. And any 10 frame equipment I have, that's what I do as well. I run it as a single, and it's usually got 8 frames and a frame feeder in it, just to keep that brood chamber nice and small.
Help remind me the name of the commercial guy that was out there.
Oh gosh, the old guy was Paul Limbaugh. The younger guy, gosh, I'm gonna remember it when I stop trying to remember it.
So that guy, I wish I could have had a longer conversation with him, but that guy, he has to stay. I mean, I thought I was bad. He has to stay moving. I can tell when I talk to him, if he's holding a conversation more than 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm not saying this negatively, he gets twitchy. He has to be physically doing something. And I guarantee that guy goes from sun up to sundown, and that guy doesn't quit.
That's funny coming from you, because that's how I perceive you, Tom.
Brian, I feel like a louse compared to watching him. I'm like, this guy, I'm like, he can't stop. I mean, he is driven, you know?
I think his name was Derek. Does that sound
Derek,
right?
that's it.
Yep.
That's it. I kind of would have liked to connect with him a little bit more, because I'm telling you, I think that guy had a lot to offer. You know, he was a really, really cordial. He's like, you know, and I'm like, hey, I don't like getting in people's hives. He said, hey, Tom, my hives right now are your hives. Do whatever you want. And I'm like, man, I don't like messing in somebody else's hives, because if I make a mistake of my own, I have to own up to it, and I'm the one that takes the repercussion. But I'm like, and he's like, Tom, seriously, man, they're all out here for teaching. Do whatever you have to do on them. And he's like, I'm actually interested to listen to what you have to say. And I'm like, if you run thousands of colonies, what I have to say is probably minuscule compared to the knowledge that you've got with this. Because I know he's been working by that older gentleman's side for years, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
He was like in his early teens, I think he said.
I think he was like 14 when he started working with them. And that was right when that guy got diagnosed with cancer for the first time. And he's been trucking along ever since. So people that don't know what we're talking about, Tom and Melissa came out for the summer meeting for Colorado as guests. And so the morning was spent doing talks. In the afternoon, we go out to a bee yard for a commercial beekeeper, and there's an older gentleman who's been a beekeeper for forever, and a younger guy who is kind of taking over slowly the business, whose name was Derek, who we had a really nice conversation. Here in Colorado, right when I started as a beekeeper, there was one of those kind of ego arguments between people, and it kind of created a break in the commercial beekeepers, which there aren't many of in Colorado, and then the hobbyists and sideliners. So there's really a big gap in the knowledge in Colorado beekeeping for people coming up wanting to learn skills that a commercial beekeeper might be able to pass on, because there aren't those channels quite as much as there might be in other areas. And it's a bummer. It's kind of what it is, but we're trying to rebuild that communication piece. And that's a guy who's always been very, very welcoming. And like, we do that summer meeting there every year, and he's always letting us do whatever we want with his hives. I took my master beekeeping test in one of those hives right there in that yard in like 2015, way back when. So,
Brian, I would almost want to come back out there to Colorado when you guys do that again.
Yeah.
I mean, not even as a speaker, I'm saying, you know, come out there just to visit with everybody. And we had a great time. While we were out there. My only regret was we didn't stay in Colorado longer. You know, we were pretty busy at the time. We really had to fly out, do our thing. It was just constant, and which was great. But I just wish we'd have had more time to kind of take in, you know, that area of Colorado out there and rifle and stuff. It was so gorgeous, and our intention was to go out there with the boys, and it didn't work out. But nonetheless, we had a great time. So kind of keep us surprised and keep us in the loop of when you guys are doing that. And if y'all would welcome some St. Louisans back out there again to tag along with you guys.
We've got some good plans for next year as well. We've been working on it.
So if I can brag on Brian and their state organization for a minute, I'm almost borderline a little bit jealous of what they have going on out there, because it's so phenomenal. They have a group of individuals and people out there as far as how this would be something that we would like to try to maybe gear toward working Missouri toward the education that's out there, as well as the camaraderie amongst all the state level with the local clubs and stuff. It was phenomenal. I mean, it was just, I don't know how to put this to words, but they have a great education program that the state themselves have built. The structure and the way that they all get together with these study groups, it is really a group of people that are just driven to learn about this. And none of these guys are commercial. I mean, Brian's that sideliner, you know, borderline commercial right there. But everybody was so eager to learn. And the knowledge base that came out of there was phenomenal too.
It was a fun time for sure.
I was just kind of briefly chatting with Matt the other day from oh, doggone it. What's the name of his operation again?
Homestead in the Hood.
Homestead in the Hood. Yeah. And I said, hey, man, you know, I love what you guys are doing out there. I like watching some of it. some of his videos and things like that. But I'm telling you, man, those guys out there are phenomenal. It's great.
You got to meet a lot of those core people. I would say maybe half of the people there were in the master beekeeping program. So it was cool to get to see like those dedicated people. And that's been one of the cool things. Colorado's huge, but that master beekeeping program has offered me the opportunity to meet other Colorado beekeepers that are serious about beekeeping like we are.
Yeah.
Casual backyard beekeeper, right? So it has created a better community in the Colorado beekeeping world for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's still a beginning. Yeah, go ahead.
The other thing that I really liked about it was, and I love talking to all different groups, and whether it's somebody that just got into beekeeping or is looking to do that, or somebody that's on a well-experienced side, I really enjoyed that setting because it seemed like everybody that was out there, I was competing with on the same knowledge level. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I was like, okay, guys, well, this is a drone. This is this, and this is what you're looking for. Everybody already knew that. So it was like challenging me to make sure that I brought my A game. And hopefully I did something I left some sort of little bit of knowledge, there with what we've done in the past. And, because everybody up there was on a pretty high level when it comes to their beekeeping experience, as well as their knowledge base too. So,
and that's why I've been so kind of motivated, especially in the off season, to go visit people, getting to visit Philip, getting to visit Mark Miller, visiting Lee, any chance I had, just kind of building that community within this community. It's been so cool to be able to do like that. I want to encourage people, like, come to NABI, meet us if you can. If you can't, that's totally okay. Come to a local state meeting. Like I'd love to see Pete Morris at the Colorado fall meeting, or John Mitchell, who I've never met, right? Another Colorado beekeeper that I've met here. I'd love to see him show up at one of the fall meetings. And honestly, all those stupid Facebook posts that I'm like, free honey for any no-life beekeepers, I was fishing for some of those guys to be like, I'm going to go up and visit Brian on a Saturday, but I got a Minnesota no-life beekeeper instead, which is even better.
You got a superstar.
That's right.
I am trying to show y'all a picture. I can't seem to get it to pull up for some reason. I may have to just show you my phone.
Top.
Yep. Y'all just keep on talking.
So Matt and Sandy, I don't know if it's Matt or Sandy typing, said something about the Nell feeders need sticks for the bees to climb out of. The sides are too slick for them. Did yours not come with floats? Because ours all have floats, and all the Nell feeders that we bought, they have floats inside of them. They're black floats at the bottom.
They're in the very center part. Feeder.
Oh yeah, if when you first buy it, the center is like closed, that you have to like slide that little cap over and dump the sticks out. Maybe some people don't know that those are in there.
Yeah, I just went and looked at them when you guys were talking about it, and it says that center part is to store the float when you're not using them.
But yeah, they shouldn't come with floats, but they are very slick. You're right. They definitely need something to float in there to climb out.
I
For
could
the
see
mother load one. Go ahead, Philip.
I could see when I looked at it how the bees couldn't get over the top edge because it was all the way up to the very top where the sides are. It was one level.
Oh, Joey's got his opener.
I'm gonna have to show it to y'all on the phone. Russell Allman sent that to me.
Yeah.
All right.
For some reason, I can't get it to pull up on the present.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Pretty open there.
Yeah, it is.
So what part of Mississippi is Russell in?
He's in Tylertown. That's about 30 minutes from me. Just north of me.
Oh. Sorry, man.
Joyce.
Sandy Valley, not Sandy.
Is that close to like Woodville? Or is it further east?
I mean, he's just He's a little bit northwest from me. Just a few minutes. I mean,
That sounds like
Yeah,
a
you
good
said
area.
Mississippi though, Joey. He's actually in Louisiana, is he not? Southern Russell.
he's in Mississippi.
He's in Mississippi, just above the toe of the boot. Sounds like.
Oh,
You know where
Maybe.
Macomb, Mississippi is? He's just
no, I do not know.
he's
I would
he's
think he was
just a
in
little bit, just about 30 minutes
Okay.
east of Macomb, Mississippi.
Oh, okay. You must be way out in the toe of the boot. East of New Orleans, right, Joey?
Mhm.
I'm about 65 miles due north of New Orleans.
How are you? Okay.
It was like condom.
Okay, east of Woodville. Okay.
He's east of Woodville. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt y'all.
That's the way, when I lived in Northeast Louisiana, that's the way you drove down to Baton Rouge, was through Natchez and Woodville and down through there.
Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt y'all.
It's all right.
Hey JW, those couple frame nukes that I got from you, I think I'm going to screw that bottom board to the nuke itself, but I want to do it on the 3/8 opening, not the 3/4 side.
Gotcha.
I think it'll work out better. I just don't like. So does anybody have nukes, whether it's a two frame, 3 frame, or a 5 frame, where you have a bottom board, the deep itself, and then you have your, whether it's a
Cover.
migratory or a telescoping cover on there, so it's several pieces? Anybody use those?
You talking about? Yeah, I'm using a few of those. Mine are actually 6 frames.
I don't think I understood what you said.
So what I'm trying to say is it has a detached bottom board. The bottom board is actually detached from it. You have to set it on there. Does anybody
it's a
have
nuke.
those?
I've got a couple. I wish I had 100 of them.
Really?
I've got
Yeah.
I've got a couple of them that has its own top and bottom.
Yeah.
And you can, if you want to add a box. you can add a box.
I'm with Joey. I built a bunch of them that were just wood boxes, and I've got a couple more that I've cut the pieces of, and I'll go ahead and finish those. But every one I make from now on will have its own bottom board if they can come apart.
It'll be separate.
Yeah.
See, I completely dislike that. I don't like how something that small has a separate bottom board on that. It's like more pieces, because sometimes with my nukes that I have now, they'll have an attached bottom board on the nuke itself, and I can add deeps to it or supers, whatever you'd like to do from there, of course. But I like it because if I need to move them, I run one strap around it if I need to, or just tape the top and pick up the whole thing by the top and the lid and move them wherever. I hate having, I don't know why, but I hate having that extra bottom board on there.
Now that you mentioned that, I actually have mine. I think it's stapled or screened, attached to the bottom.
Okay.
I mean, I can take it loose, but
I have
it's got other boxes to go with it.
What were you guys saying?
Like plumbing hanger, that strap that's got the holes in them, the little.
Yeah.
I just use that and take screws and attach them together if you want them to stay together. Then you can pick them up and move them. And the board won't come off of it, Tom. That's the way I do them.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to fasten them to the bottom. I think the 3 framer that I got, that already had that was already attached. It was a full box. Yeah.
I've got 3 more 2 frames that you're welcome. I didn't bring those 2. I can bring them to Springfield.
Yeah, get them
solid. That's got solid bottom boards on them. It's built in like you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. I'll use them. Definitely.
They're just 2 framers.
Yeah, I know, but I feel like that the
Those
2
are good
framers
for
that you had,
use.
I told you my gripe on the 2 framer where I didn't feel like the ones that I built, I left ample room to get them out. And I feel like I have more risk of rolling the queen since there's only 2 frames and I have a 50-50 shot of her being on one of those sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the ones you had, I think might have had a little bit more room in them.
They do. Depends on who makes them. You could take 5-frame nukes and get 5-frame nukes from 4 different individuals, and you probably get 4. They won't be exactly the same.
Yeah.
Unless they're standard, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
9.5 is how wide most of them 5 frames are. But I got some from John Hill a few years back when he first started. I think he had some Amishmen make them. Them things weren't even close to being square and I'm not saying that gripingly. I didn't care that much, but they were close to being square, and they were some of them were over 10 inches wide, and they were 5-frame nukes.
Huh.
You know, you could almost get 6 frames in them, but they weren't square, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that. That's too much room, I feel like. If you can almost get that 6 frame in there, that's too much room. They're going to do something weird at that point.
Well, the standard I think is 9.5, you know, exterior.
You're right.
Standard by the industry.
Yeah, that's kind of odd how there's not a standardization when it comes to certain boxes, with the exception of 10-frame equipment, I think is all standardized. But anything else beyond that, I feel like I've noticed that there's different variances in the widths, not usually the lengths, but usually the widths. You'll find different different widths going on there.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah, which is kind of odd to me, but I guess everyone's got their own.
I don't know if y'all have ever watched the guy. He don't post any more YouTube channels, but I used to watch him a long time ago. Ralph Jones III on YouTube.
No,
he's mostly on Facebook now, but he built all his own boxes. He got his own standard going. 7-frame boxes. That's all he used, and it worked just right for what kind of beekeeping he wanted to do. And he'd just stack him 7-framers up. They seem to work good for him.
That must be where Carl Herring got his idea from, with his 7-framer.
But for me, with the 5-frame nukes, I've got some of both, and I totally get the convenience of having the bottom board attached. But the frustration I found with those is when I wanted to double stack a 5-frame, I couldn't, because every 5-frame box I had a bottom board attached to it.
That's so down draw.
If that's something you want to do, that's a con. If that's not part of your management practice, it's not an issue.
So let me clarify that, and that brings up a good point. The ones that I had purchased, I can buy the bottom box with it's basically just a piece of pine that's attached to the bottom of it. Okay. And it doesn't have like a separate landing board with, and then I can also buy deep supers, if you will, to go on top of those. So I can still double, triple, quadruple.
Yeah.
I can keep going up as high as I want with those. So it doesn't stop me from doing that. But yes, at that point, that box specifically is limited to the bottom box. Yeah. There is no flip-flop and what have you. But for me, it wasn't a concern because they don't generally live. I mean, for a period of time, they will. They don't generally live long-term in those boxes. They're more of just a platform to get them from a certain stage to where I want them, and then they go into a full frame. So, but just the clarification.
So for your management practices, it's essentially a non-issue.
It is not an issue. Yes.
If I had more of the boxes like you're talking about, the stackable, if I had more of them, I would actually start off in that 5-framer, let them build up, and once they get those 2 full, then you could go to 2 double deeps. That seems to work better than taking a nuke and putting it in a 10-frame wide box.
Yeah. And that's what we do a lot of times. We let them get up to like 10, sometimes 15 frames.
Yeah.
If I had that equipment, that's the way I would go. I would go double deep nukes first. And then when the weather got right and they need to go into more room, I'd go ahead and put them in 2 double deep 10s then.
Really? If I may interject there, what Tom's talking about, what we're talking about is 2 and 3-frame nukes for solid bottoms. You know,
okay,
what's there for queen breeding purposes primarily, and they're not you're not likely to actually stack them too deep.
Yeah, those are not. Yeah.
Oh,
Good for queens. Now that's the reason I'm getting rid of them, because I'm going to use all 5-frame stuff because it's more handy. And then then I don't have to move them so much, and then I can go ahead and add. See, I've got some 3 deep 5-frames, and I'm gonna try to winterize this year or go through winter with this year. See how they do.
Yeah.
The 3 deep.
I like the 5-framers
3
for
deep
that.
5-frames.
I would say, for the sake of, if somebody's like, I want the least amount of equipment possible to make nukes or to rear queens out of, and then go to my regular equipment, I would say forego the 2 and 3 frame. Don't even use them, much like what JW is saying. It's just, it is more equipment, yes. But sometimes I'll have some of my other equipment tied up at that point. And if I have some 2 and 3 framers there, that buys me a little bit extra time, because I can make a split very, very easily. That takes me no time and
not a lot of resources.
Not a lot of resources, and I can just move away from it very quickly. And then I can move it into something larger. I'm also under the
Joey kicked himself off his own chat.
My observation is always, and I think most people would agree with this, but you guys interject with what you think. I think that the bees grow really well in very confined spaces. I think it's difficult for them to go from 5 frames to 10 frames. I think there's a setback period in there, because you have half the frames that are empty. I think that if you went from, and this may be overanalyzing things too a little bit, but 3 frames to 5 frames, 5 frames to, again, ours is 8 frame. Or like Joey's saying, you double stack 2 5 frames, and then you take it from there and then move it into your 10 frame box. You could go that route. I feel like that there's less of an upset when that happens than if you go straight from 5 frames to a full 10. But I want to know what everybody else's observation is and what you guys think.
I agree with that. I think that's also a benefit of a frame feeder or some sort of follower board. If you're helping a colony expand, you could put a small colony in a 10-frame box and fill in that space with 2 frame feeders, or even have a follower board that you're just moving across as well. I think another benefit, I don't have 2 or 3 frame nuke boxes, because the equipment that I've purchased, I've wanted to be multi-use. I want bees to be in it a lot, right? If I can't, I want to be able to use it in May, in August, in November. And those 2-3 frame nukes are so specific in their uses. I feel like you'll get some use out of it, and then a lot of storage time for it.
Well,
You're not wrong either. I think you're 100% spot on with that comment.
those 5-framers that I use, the decoat 5-framers, when I put a division board feeder in there, I can't get but 3 frames in it anyway.
Yeah.
So that works good for me for that. But
Yeah.
I had to pull that feeder out to add a 4th frame in there.
Frame.
Mhm.
Yeah, everybody, that just shows you that everybody does things, and it all works. People argue back and forth, but whatever works for you is what I tell young people starting out. Experiment a little bit and see what ends up you like. My
Sure.
2s and 3s, I bought them on an impulse. Never really used them, because I decided I was going to go all 5-frame stuff.
Yeah.
When the people started using the 5-framers for years, everybody just done everything in 10 frames, and there wasn't any doubt about it. If you was a beekeeper, you had 10-frame Langstroth hives pretty much.
That's where that double screen board comes in handy. You can put them in a 10-frame box and put them on that double screen board and let the big hive keep them warm.
Well, I like those little 2 and 3 framers for mating nukes, because you're not using as much resources if your queen doesn't come back, or something like that. You're not losing as many.
Well, I use double screens going from, and Tom will tell you this, I showed him some that I made. Sometimes I'll put a 5-framer on top of an 8 or on top of a 10.
Mm-hmm.
I made some reducers down where I can put an 8 on top of a 10. I can put a 5 on top of an 8, or you can make them and shim them up just out a piece of plywood, And
That's who bought a bunch of plywood today off Marketplace for $5 a sheet.
So
Yeah.
I found a guy near me that had half sheets of 3/4 inch. It's not exterior grade. It's just regular 3/4 inch plywood. And it was in brand new stuff that he said he was selling for $5 a sheet. So I bought 15 sheets of this, and I can make plenty of those double screen boards. But I think based upon all the information that we had all been talking about over the last couple of chats, and some others were chiming in on that too, I don't think I want to use the plywood for my spacers on top and bottom. I'm going to use regular pine. I know you guys, some people have talked a little bit about maybe possible delamination of the plywood, especially since you're only cut 3/4 of an inch thick. I think I want to use dimensional 3/4 inch pine lumber for that spacer that goes on there.
Are you saying that it's not it's interior plywood?
Correct.
It's going to come apart on you. I used interior plywood to make some boxes, and I regret it ever since. I'm
Did
replacing
you,
them.
What about if it was wax dipped?
That may work. I don't know. I think it might come apart in the wax dipper, but give it a shot.
No,
I'm gonna try. I have very little investment in it, so I'm gonna build them and I'm gonna wax dip them. So I'll let you guys know how it turns out.
hell, I've got some that's 3 or 4 years old. That's out of way, Tom.
Hey, Tom, the difference in interior and exterior plywood is the glue itself. The glue comes apart with moisture.
Gotcha.
So it delaminates on you.
Yeah.
It's not the wood.
Okay. It's the process in which they laminate or the resins they're using.
Yeah. I wanted to show you guys. I'm going to 6-frame nukes, and this is a bottom board that I throw together using old fence boards. So I just make a couple of runners, and I put the pieces horizontally across there and leave it sticking out for enough for a landing. And then I rip down some 3/8 inch to make a standoff, and that's it. It takes me maybe 10 minutes to make one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a bunch of these and have them laying around that fit in my 6-frame nukes.
Yeah, that's not bad. I like that 3/8 inch rather than a full 3/4 of an inch opening. You know, that's just enough height for the bees to get in and out.
I use almost 100% 3/8.
But that's free because I'll find somebody tearing down an old fence and I'll throw a bunch of the boards in the back of my truck and
Well, that's illegal.
make it.
Don't.
This one didn't have bees in it very long, so you can still see through the bottom of it between the slats, but they'll fill it in with propolis.
Oh yeah.
I acquisition all mine from building. You know where these builders of new houses, they'll throw that and they'll get them big dumpsters. I go around and go dumpster dipping, and I get a lot of my plywood stuff out of dumpsters.
That's why you get along with the raccoons so good, G.
They're both in dumpsters together.
Yeah.
I go dumpster dipping, and I get a lot of my bee. I make most of my bee stuff too, Phil. So I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
Send us a selfie with you in a
Before I
dumpster.
retired, I'm sorry. Before I retired, we used to have a lot of scrap lumber or plywood. It might be 3/8, it might be 5/8, it might be 3/4. But once you got the scrap pieces and the grains going the wrong way, I would build nuke boxes and stuff like that out of them. Even some of my swarm traps is like that. The grains actually going the wrong way on some of the tops and bottoms.
Oh, yeah.
And in a couple, as long as it works, I mean, it didn't cost me nothing. They were going to throw it away.
Bees don't complain either way, whichever way the grain runs. I bet they don't complain, Joy.
And that French cleat that I got on there, that helps keep it from warping like this. Once you put it on there, it's kind of like a strong back part.
Yeah. I just want to caution you, Tom, don't spend a lot of time if on that interior plywood. You'll regret it. It'll come apart in about a year and a half. Well, you know, as long as it's nobody's looking.
That's what I was thinking. Phil's
It's that
probably
tree
going
fall.
around in the middle of the night, cutting everybody's fence down to make some bottom boards.
Are those boards? They're cedar. Those boards are cedar. Cedar fence boards.
So it's a cedar fence. All right.
Yeah.
So he only goes for the expensive fences.
Yeah. Don't come after mine. Leave mine alone.
Yeah.
Now I do know a guy that uses treated material for his bottoms. Sure does.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
used
you
some
know,
treated.
too.
Yeah.
Now you know too.
Chain link doesn't work well.
Yeah. You're safe, DC. He won't come after yours.
It's just extra ventilation.
That's
what are you
right.
talking about?
Yeah.
Chain link was great.
So you can get a bird through the hole of that thing.
Yeah, DC, my throat, I've been battling a little bit of a cold or sinus infection or something, but I talked a lot at the market today. So
You had a good day, Philip?
I had my best day yet at the market this year.
Nice.
And they gave me a hat. You see that? Bell Farmers Market.
Wow.
Bell Farmers
All right,
Market.
Roy.
That's when you know you made it. You get market swag.
And they well, last Saturday, which I wasn't at, was the vendor appreciation day, and they waived everybody's fees. So they waived my fees this week because they like me so much.
Wow.
And you told me he was King Honey, right?
And gave me a hat, gave my son a hat. Yeah, you know when you win a big contest like that, JW, you get stuff.
All those doors just start opening for you everywhere
Exactly.
you go.
They roll out the red carpet.
Well, I'm telling you, that was a rigged deal because I emailed my samples to them and they never even tasted mine.
I didn't get my emailed fish I thought I was going to get last week.
So we mailed them. I guess it was last Sunday. They had our honey on there that we had mailed them. It took almost a week and a half for our honey to get to them. It was like got stuck, and I think that's probably why that one jar was cracked, because it was stuck in Nashville for like 3 or 4 days before it got, and so it went from St. Louis to Nashville down to them, and it was stuck in Nashville for a minute, but I couldn't believe how long it took for that to get to them.
I can't remember who it was, but they bought some earrings from me, and I mailed them using the pirate ship, post office, and I watched it on the map. Instead of going east where they were in like South Carolina or somewhere, it went west all the way to California, and I was like, those earrings are gone. There's no way they're ever coming back.
Yeah.
But about 2 weeks later, they made it all the way back across the country and made it there. It took about 3 weeks total to get there. It was the craziest thing. So it just got thrown in the wrong bin, when people were sorting whatever machine or person was sorting it.
There's been twice this year. So one of it was early this spring. I don't know how many people on here remember we kind of had the snafu with our club and getting our nukes in, because the original nukes that we ordered got sprayed, and so we had to find somebody. But the guy who we originally ordered the nukes from, the club had already paid him, so he was mailing our check back, and he sent me the tracking number, and everything. And this check was in the Hazelwood post office, so that's a city in St. Louis, a little suburb of St. Louis, whatever. In their post office for like a week, and we're like 45 minutes from Hazelwood. And I go to my post office. I'm like, where is this? Like, well, it's in Hazelwood. It just hasn't. It took just to get from one part of St. Louis to me. It was like a week before we got that check. It was so infuriating. And then that seed honey that we had talked about earlier, that got shipped. That got stuck in that post office for like a week and a half. And that was being shipped at the beginning of summer, and I'm like, oh, surely this is no good anymore. It's melted. It's because once that seed honey melts down, it just turns back into liquid honey. There's no coming back from it. And it had been like almost 2 weeks, so I called the Cox Honey, and they actually shipped me out another gallon of honey, and I got that before the original honey that I did order finally made it to me. I got the new one they shipped to me for the original one I ordered got to me.
Wow.
So
Hey, Brad.
I think some of these post office just aren't really efficient in what they do sometimes too.
Right.
Well, imagine that. That's a federal.
Yeah.
They're federal employees. What do you think?
Yeah, I've after that experience, I always pay the extra $2 or $3 to send it UPS.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they're
I have
getting
a-
on the verge of being almost as bad in places,
Yeah.
UPS. My best luck locally I have with FedEx,
See,
actually.
we're the opposite. FedEx is horrible here. UPS
Huh.
is way better.
See, it's been where you're at. That's kind of like the beekeeping business, do what works for you. That's what I tell folks.
Well, I feel like a lot of times when things get sent FedEx around here, they transfer them to the post office. So it takes another 2 or 3 days, after that before I get stuff from FedEx.
Yeah.
If
Well,
I was ordering bourbon honey from you, I'd want you to send it to the post office.
well, even when you send stuff UPS, if the person lives out in the country, they'll usually transfer it over to a post office to get it all the way
They
out.
do it all here in my area. Half the stuff that comes from UPS is delivered by the
Post
rural
office.
postal people.
Yeah. Yeah. They have
JW,
a
everything
deal
I have bourbon related, I'm giving you for Christmas. Bourbon honey, creamed honey, bourbon lip balm. I'm going to make some bourbon soap for you. Everything that JW gets this Christmas is going to be.
What happens, mind the people that's always aggravating other people, you get picked on by everybody. The old Charlie Brown. Why is everybody always picking on me? Oh well, life's fun.
Tom's playing you a little violin over here off camera.
Well, if you can't have fun in life, there's no use living.
That's right.
Anyone got any big events coming up soon?
Yeah.
See,
The Illinois State Convention here is about 2 or 3 weeks.
yeah.
The beekeeping convention?
Yeah. Beekeepers Illinois Association. They got a spring and a fall. This is what they call their fall one, but it's their big one.
Yeah.
Any good speakers?
Oh yeah, Bob Benny.
Nice.
Bob Benny's there, and I forget who else they had. They had some other. Bob's a big name, of course. That's everyone always.
Yeah.
Who's Bob Benny?
Tom wants to know who Bob Benny is. He's
No.
never heard of that guy before.
The Texas state Texas Beekeeping Association convention is in Austin on the 15th and 16th, I think, of November. But I've got Mark that weekend. I talked to my son. I said, if you get comfortable with the market doing it by yourself, I said, I wouldn't mind breaking away and going to that convention. Fred Dunn's going to do the opening address for that.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
How you doing, Brad? Bourbon.
Yep. It's JW's favorite. So let's see.
I'd rather drink quinine water or something like that.
So this week I have that talk at the elementary school on Friday. Then we have a meet and greet at the local bee shop, and then the Missouri State Fall Conference is Saturday. And then we have our Great Plains, our master beekeeping program. That's on Sunday that Tom and I help teach in the afternoon.
What's the topic this Sunday?
I don't know.
Ooh, I don't know. He hasn't seen this information.
Yeah, Ken, the guy who actually does the main, runs it. He usually towards the middle of the week, he'll send us an outline of what he plans on going over, and we'll kind of break down who's going to talk about what and whatnot. So
Gotcha.
I'm going to guess it's probably talking about winter emergency feed and stuff like that. There's a lot of newer beekeepers in it. Our first year or maybe second year beekeepers are in it. So a lot of it is usually fairly basic stuff,
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what our that's what our week is shaping up to look like?
I've got one last Saturday. I've got one last farmer's market. I'm stressed out because apparently we have to dress up in Halloween costumes. And I'm like, I thought I was done with that with teaching. So, and like that, I guess this is cool. They give out candy to every vendor. So the kids come around and then they'll do the trick or treat thing. So
That's cool.
Jen will be in heaven. She'll love all that. And then we take a break. Our fall meeting is November 2nd. Randy Oliver is flying in, and I get to join Kathy to go pick him up at the airport. So,
Oh, cool.
Oh, that'll be
that'll
interesting to hear about that.
Yeah, so we'll have a fun weekend there. And then I take November off, and then we have 2 weekend markets in December. But
Hey,
that's pretty
Brian,
much it.
is Kathy, is she on Facebook?
I think so. I'm not sure, but I think so. I'll check. I don't know where my phone is now, but I'll check at some point.
I
Her
was
last name is Gill, Gill.
Okay, I'll try to look her up. And I really enjoyed the meeting with them when we were down there too. Kathy and her husband Tom.
Yeah,
they
great
were just
folks.
tremendous hosts. And
Yep.
I know we all, myself, Melissa, and you, had kind of gotten in late because we were goofing off out there in Colorado having dinner and what have you. But we got in late. I know we kept them up past their bedtime.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they were troopers, and they were up like at 4:30 the next morning making sure that we caught our flight. So, you know, they're just phenomenal people too. I kind of thought about that later on. I was thinking about them the other day, and I'm like, I wonder if they're on Facebook. I'd like to friend request them and keep in touch with them. That's all.
Yeah. I'll check when I find my phone. I don't know where I put
Yeah, no
it.
worries. No rush.
So, Brian, you're just moving indoors, though, right? You're going to keep doing markets. There's going to be indoor markets.
Yeah, our December ones. I don't do anything in the cold in the winter. I don't want to stand outside in the cold. So
Hard to get that honey to squeeze out. I know that.
Oh,
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
Yeah, I have 5 more markets after today. So
Okay.
So our markets that we did the last 2 nights, when they started, the honey was like running great. By the end of the night, I'm like 2 hands trying to squeeze the bottle, getting the honey out.
Yeah.
it was just the opposite of that today. It was pretty cool in the morning, and it was hard to get it going. And by the afternoon, it was trying to shoot out of the jar by itself.
Yeah.
Because you tip it in the jar, the plastic condiment jar is heated up, so there's air pressure inside of it.
Mhm.
So as soon as it releases, it like wants to shoot
It
out of
just
the
wants
thing.
to keep going. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, I spent all summer not worrying about the liquid honey and worrying on the creamed honey and making sure I only put a couple out on the table so they don't
Right.
decrystallize in the heat. And then just flipped. Now I'm worried about all the liquid honey getting too
Yep.
thick and crystallizing, and I can put
Yeah.
all the creamed honey out on the
Right,
table I want, and there's no balance. It just flipped immediately. And I still brought the cooler because it could have rained today, so I put all the creamed honey in the cooler just because of the possible rain, and that was my habit, but I didn't need to do that anymore.
So here's something that happened Thursday night. I was so frustrated because I just spent 2 or 3 days over the last week making candles and making lip balms, and like that is a time-consuming task making those items, right?
Yeah.
And all my candles, if you guys saw the picture of our booth setup, I had all my candles on a separate shelf and I had lights on it. So it was clearly visible, right? A lady completely runs into my shelf, knocks half my candles over. Some of them hit the ground. She looks down at it, looks at me, and just keeps walking. Like, I understand like accidents happen. That's fine. I wouldn't like made her buy the candles or anything, but you could have at least apologized or helped pick them up. No, she looks down, and the person she was walking with too. It wasn't like she was by herself. Both look down, turn around, look at me, and just walk off. I was like, "Are you serious?" And she ruined probably 4 or 5 of my candles.
Yeah.
Some people don't know how to apologize.
Yeah. Again, if she would have like said something or acknowledged, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so whatever," I could care less. It is what it is, right? It's just what happens. But like for somebody to just like look at it, look at me, and just like walk off, I was like, oh my God, how rude is that?
So, Brian, I have a question for you. You do a lot of candles. What tank or what setup are you using to melt the wax down that you would pour the candles with?
Let's go to the kitchen.
Ooh, field trip.
This is the one.
Come on, Bominos.
That's kind of that's what I do right there.
And then I just have 2 end bars from a frame just to raise it up above the burner a little bit. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but in the water, there's just two pieces of wood.
I see. Yeah.
Just so this isn't sitting right on the bottom of the pot.
Okay.
So it's raised up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then this is my wife's plan to not put down any parchment paper or tray at all to protect from it. So this is not the way I recommend.
I use
you can get those. Yeah, like a big cookie tray you get from Costco is great because it'll catch anything and not
and I
make
put a
a mess.
silicone pad down on it, so you can just whatever wax you spill, you can just peel it up and throw it back in the.
Yeah, and then we got like these are. I'm making bricks like this.
Mhm.
It's basically like a bread pan kind of thing, and I just got 12 of them, and these fit. I don't want to make them too fat.
Right.
Because it doesn't fit in there. So I'll fill it to like 2/3, 3/4 high, and then set it aside, let it harden. I don't care if it cracks or anything because I'm just going to melt it down. I'm not selling it. But these are great. These fit right in there, and it makes it super easy. So you can see, here's my bucket of processed, ready to go beeswax.
Okay. Have you thought about a small tank to do that out of, or something that's a little bit less invasive in your kitchen, or do you not mind that?
Yes, we're working towards all of that. We're trying to get better and streamlining and all that good stuff. Why am I sideways?
Oh.
You're not on us. You're good here.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, your neck's gonna start hurting, buddy. Sit up right.
Yeah. If anyone's sideways, it should be me, I suppose.
Okay, so I want to show you guys this, and Lee's not on here to send a picture, but I'll try to see if I can get it up there. So I looked at this not long ago and calculate 14 liters. What is 14 liters? 40.
Hey Siri, how much is 14 liters
So,
in gallons?
Dancing Bee, which I believe is, and if Brad's still on here,
Hey,
maybe
Siri,
he
how much
knows.
is 14 liters in
Dancing
gallons?
Bee, I believe they're a Canadian company.
Is 3.7 gallons.
Mhm.
Okay. Here's a picture. Let's see if I can get it.
That's good right there.
Yeah.
This is from
I got you.
Dancing. This is from Dancing Bee.
Uh-huh.
And this is a 14 liter or 3.58. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate that. It's for wax, making candles, what have you. I've kind of been seriously thinking about that one. What
What's
are
the
your
little
thoughts?
spout? What's the little spout thing on it?
I think that's just for the water. Maybe is it water
Um,
jacketed? Not that at the top.
If y'all hadn't seen Brad's video
That
this
looks
morning,
like a water jacket spout.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
Brad's wax.
top?
I rewatched the wax melter parts of that video for sure.
Right.
You're
Okay.
talking about the top, Brian, right?
Yeah, no, the little thing on the bottom below the black keyhole thing. Yeah.
I think that's where the wax would come out.
Okay.
Now, I would probably put a right angle on that so that it doesn't squirt coming out,
Yeah.
It would probably be wise. But
How much is that?
Brad, do you know much about that company, Dancing Bee? Have you ever dealt with them in the past? Any input on that there?
It's just over $1,000 for that.
Yeah, they're going to be at Nobby, and they have it discounted by,
200
I don't know.
bucks.
Was that 10%? About 10, 15%, I think it is. I don't know. It's an expense, but it's a one-time expense. But she has been pouring a lot more candles here lately, and honestly, they seem to be moving pretty regularly.
And they're going to move a lot more as you get closer to the holiday season.
And that's what I was thinking too. She was kind of working pretty hard down there. I'm like, you know what?
Well, because what I have my setup is I have one of those hot plates, like a 2-burner hot plate, basically.
Yep.
And so I do kind of like what you do, double boiler method with my candle pouring pitcher, melt the wax in there. I've already clarified and whatever.
Yep.
And then I just pour it into my molds from there on a cookie sheet lined with silicone.
Thank you.
And then I have another tray. I actually use one of those bread pans that I use my bulk candle or bulk wax mold, right?
Yeah.
I put one of those on my other burner and turn it on low just enough to melt wax. And so when I need to level out the bottom of those candles, I just run it over there so I can recapture all that melted wax and I pour it back into the other bucket, or to the other pot, pitcher, whatever you want to call it.
So you guys hit on one of the big growing pains that I've had to deal with this year. We've had a lot of great successes this year, but one of the things we've struggled with as we went from one market to two is having that constant product on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been, and that's been something I've been reflecting on all summer long, is how can I be more efficient? Like, instead of making a creamed honey batch where I'm making 4 gallons and I end up with 40 jars, and then 2 weeks later, I've got to do that all over again. How can I make larger batches and be way more efficient? So for me, with the candles, that melting of those bricks in that pot is the bottleneck for us, because we can pour, and then we've got to wait for that next.
Well, it takes like 20 minutes to melt that block down.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking for candles, at least, is I have something kind of like what Philip has there, where I have 1.5 gallons of melted wax in a wax melter already. I'm pouring it into that pot that I can then pour candles.
Yeah.
So I can then wait for them to solidify. While they're solidifying, I can re-wick the next molds. By the time I've wicked the next molds, I can put those that have just started to harden in the freezer. I can pour the next set of molds that I move onto that tray. By the time I'm done doing that, I can pull those out of the freezer, empty those out, re-wick those, and I'm constantly working. And I'm never sitting there and waiting for the wax to melt to be able to do the next one. So that's what I'm thinking as far as candles go, to dial in that process a whole lot more. We've got enough molds where I can, if I have the melted beeswax, I can keep pouring as long as I can, right? It's not like I have 2 molds and I have to wait for those molds to be empty before I can make more.
So that's our thing that we're going to be purchasing more of. At Nobby is more candle molds of the molds that we already have.
Yep.
So that we can have multiple of those. So we're not waiting for this one in the freezer to, we can do multiple of them at one time and, kind of rotate that. My only, I guess, concern is like with what Philip has in the background, and even the one that Tom was showing, is in that spigot where the wax comes out, that when you turn it off, that wax is going to harden. When you start heating it back up, is that wax going to melt also easily? Or is that going to be an issue?
The reason I bought this one was just that reason. They said that this would heat up, but it still gets clogged some. It's not terrible, but it does. And I'll take the heat gun.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Now this one, this was like $100 or something. I can't remember, but this says I pour the candles straight from here. Now, if I don't have very many tall candles, if I did, I would put it up on a block. But this has got a really good control on it, this ball valve right here.
Yeah.
So it's real easy to fill candles. I mean, it's so much easier than pouring them to me. I don't think I'll go back. But I'm not so sure you could keep wax melted in it, because the thermostat on it is either on or off. And it's hard to keep it at a low temperature. I think your wax will start to turn green if you left it in there all the time.
Yeah.
So what I do is I don't fill it up. Let me see how much I have in there. Actually, let me see.
Well, you could fill it up enough for what you're going to do in one day.
Melted wax in there now, but if you could fill it up as much as you wanted, as long as you were making those candles,
Right, right.
like then. But it does take a while. It takes about an hour because I don't like to get it super hot real fast because I don't want to burn the wax. So I give myself about an hour to get it hot.
Carl in the chat says, Brian, we bought what Philip has in the spring and it tripled our output. And they make a lot of candles as well.
Yeah.
Carl, I don't know what you mean by, okay, what sells best, Brian? Could you clarify that question?
Oh, maybe what candle sells best?
Oh, well, it's seasonal.
Yeah.
Our ghosts have been selling really well. We have a whole bunch of different pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns. We have a couple of French bulldog candles that sell well. And it varies from market to market. Sometimes they won't sell at all, and sometimes we'll sell as many as we have.
Yeah.
Another problem we've had with our candles is like we brought two, I call them bleachers. They're little like stands that have 3 different levels.
Mhm.
We filled 2 bleachers this morning, and by 10:30 we had it down to 1 bleacher.
Nice.
Right? So how many candles could we sell if we had an unlimited inventory that we would keep filling those 2 bleachers instead of whittling it down to 1? And that was part of our problem this year. We were making stuff for the weekend. Saturday, which was our better market, got everything. Sunday got what was left. So we didn't maximize our market potential just because we weren't able to bring the products to those 2 markets to be able to sell as much as we could. So when we look at our numbers, we're thinking to ourselves, okay, we're doing pretty good, but what if Jen wasn't working another job and she was able to bust candles out all day long? How could we pay her that way? So that's part of where our brain is going next year.
Now,
Yeah.
do you guys do any container candles?
Yeah, like glass votives. Yeah.
So we one thing that like has been selling really well for us is I found these little tiny mugs. You probably saw them on our display.
Those were really cute. Yeah.
I forgot to take it to the market today. My very first glass. It still got the.
Oh, nice.
I'd forgotten about it, and then you said it. I was like, oh, wait a minute, I made one.
So
Philip, you can't sell it if you don't take it, my friend.
Exactly. Hey, I want to clear up one thing. I said it's on or off. It's got a thermostat, but Carl, it's one heat. It's either on heating or it's off from heating. It does have a thermostat, and it's even got a hold. It's got a ready and intermediate and all that stuff. So yeah, mine has a thermostat. But it's still going to be, when it's on, it's real hot and it's on. It just turns itself on and off quicker.
My memory goes away real quick when I watch something, but I think it was Brad mentioned today that the girl that works with Ian puts a little honey down in the bottom of theirs and it'll settle down into that valve. I think that's
that was Brad's video this morning. Yep. All right, I got another pro tip for you.
Keep it from
oh, really?
Rocking it up. Yeah.
This is a double pro tip. So if you go to Costco, they sell 6 packs of tiramisu. Okay.
Whoa,
in these,
let me get this
in these glass jars. This is the burden that I have to bear. Jen's been bugging
to eat
me.
Those, huh?
I have to eat this tiramisu so we can use these glass jars for some of our votives. So she's been bugging me.
Tell me where the problem is at, please.
Well,
I don't know how you stay so thin doing that, Brian.
What's that?
All the
I don't know how you stay so thin eating.
That's right.
6 packs of tiramisu.
I don't have the best body in the world, but I am blessed with a fantastic metabolism.
That's good.
So here are those little jars.
Hold up.
Well, we're right here. There we go.
Yeah, those are really cute, Melissa. Yeah.
So I sell these for $5 a piece. I could probably sell them for more. But I find these at Hobby Lobby. And if you get them off, like at the end of the season, they'll have these for like 70% off. So I'm paying like 75 cents for the little mug. And there's like an ounce about an ounce or so of wax in there.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Somebody
but
else
no
asked about-
tiramisu.
Someone else asked on here what the charging for candles, and Melissa does do it by the ounce, I believe. And then also that if she's pouring them into a piece like this, obviously that's added, of course.
Yeah, I'll probably raise the price of these next year. I already have our prices set for the rest of the year, and I don't want to change them.
Yeah, my candles are about roughly 4 ounces each, and I sell them for $10.
So I have a
That's
question,
good deal.
Philip.
I like that.
Philip, that tank, that small
Hobby
wax
Lobby.
tank that you have,
Yeah.
I think I understand what you're saying, but tell me what you hate about it and tell me what you like about it. And would you buy it again? And is
Oh,
it a good buy?
I don't hate anything about it.
Okay.
I mean, it's. I was doing them with it wasn't a nice pot like Brian has there, but it was I think it was a plastic thing, but I was getting wax everywhere, and it was getting hard in the pot. And my pot, I was having to transfer it from another pot into there, so it was getting hard inside the plastic. I never had one that I could sit the actual pour pot in the water, so I just skipped that step and went straight to this.
I love how Doug Longman used a coffee maker. So he's got an old coffee maker with the little hot plate on the bottom, and he just uses the coffee pot, and he just melts the wax right in there.
That is cool. Well, I think this thing is fashioned after like the community coffee pot in a church or something.
Yep, just like percolator. Yeah. The problem I bet with some molds, it would be really easy to pour that right out of there. But I have some molds that are like you've got to situate them a certain way, or I've actually got to raise it up a little bit because you've got to let the wick hang down below. So there are some that I'll sit on top of like the lid of a jar upside down, give them a little extra space.
Things like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that idea of picking up a mold and moving it that's full of liquid beeswax, I could see doing with a couple of the molds, but other ones not so much. Like we have some molds that we fit in a cup. Like I have a snowman, but it's like 3 pumpkins. So when you turn it upside down, we sit it in a cup. So the largest pumpkin kind of rests on top of the lip, right? So it's got that extension for the wick below, and you can pour it right in. Some of the molds are tricky like that, and some of them.
I actually passed on buying a Christmas tree mold just because of that. I was looking at that. It's like that thing's got to be inverted and put inside some kind of glass because it was the conical shape would have had to have been pointing down.
Yeah,
I kind of like Darren's idea. Maybe I could give them the wax and kind of split it with them or something.
Yeah. Anybody wants to sell me their wax at Nabby, bring it to Nabby and I'll buy it, man.
I'm gonna have to be buying wax, I think, before Christmas. I should have bought a big block when I was at Nabby last year.
Yeah, I bought 200 pounds at Nabby last year from Bob Binney, and that was gone by mid-July. And that was mostly markets from end of April to that point.
Yeah, I don't sell near as many candles as Brian does. I probably sell about 3, maybe 2, 3 at each market. But
and let's clarify, it's really Jen selling most of the candles. It's not me.
Brian, you talked about something earlier where you said, maybe not having enough of each candle, what have you. The one thing that always bothers me is if I feel like I'm leaving money on the table.
Oh my God.
I kick myself so hard about that when I'm like, man, we should have done this, that, or the other. But the beauty about like us tracking exactly what we sell at each market, so how much money each market earns, and if it's from our light honey or our dark honey or what size it is or what candle is selling, we can go back and track everything and look at it for each market and say, even at the end of the year, and we can kind of, when we're regrouping for the next year, say, okay, this is how many candles we sold. This is how much money we made on it. And try to track this information specifically so we can understand if we're, what we're making in our profit margins on each and where we need to focus our efforts at based upon what the sales are saying, and if we need to dial in a little bit more or spend a little more money in one area to simplify a process, because we've gotten to a point now where she's spending more time doing something that if we had one piece of equipment could save it or cut it in half. Now all of a sudden, she can be using her effort somewhere else, so it's saving us a little bit, So it's always that struggle of trying to figure out at what point in time you make a large purchase on something.
Yeah. And, Jen and I had a conversation like that today. She was flipping through Instagram and saw an ad for a freeze dryer kind of thing. And she's like, should we buy this? We could freeze dry our own like berries and add it into our creamed honey. And I was like, yeah, I've thought about that. I went through this whole mental exercise, and here's why no. Because this really expensive equipment, which is a really cool piece of equipment, does really cool things, actually adds work to our process, right? So we've got to now find fresh berries, dehydrate it, then powder it, and then add it into our creamed honey to make the blueberry creamed honey. Whereas I could just go online and buy organic powdered dehydrated blueberries already and add it to my creamed honey, and it's way less. So I could go through that process and make it a little bit more mine, but it's not making the process easier. In fact, it's making it harder. It's making it longer, right? But that creamed honey machine, man, that's saving me money.
Yeah.
Right, that's making me money. So I'm spending $2,000 on that, and it has a big return. As the other one's just giving me more work to do.
Yeah.
I do soap. Brian does soap.
My wife does lotions, but she doesn't do enough for me to sell.
And we do lotion bars. We do salves as well. We do lip balms.
I have to say, I don't always take our soap to market though, because I find that there's other people who only make soap and their soap is so much better than mine. And it's like, why am I hauling another thing if I know I'm not going to sell much of it? Or if it's rainy, I won't take my soap because then it's just going to ruin my soap.
Yep.
But another thing is we're running out of space on our table. So sometimes I just won't take it because I have nowhere to put it on my table. Where like, I feel like we're almost to the point where we might have to start requesting two spots instead of just one spot.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have any more space to put anything on the tables.
Or reconfigure our booth to where we're not inside the tent with our tables out front, where people will enter into your space, and now you can potentially add another table in there. And I think, Brian, you guys have done it before, if I remember.
Oh, I could talk about this all day long. I
feel like when you do that, though, I think it looks nice, but I think sometimes you have a hard time drawing people into your, when they have to walk into your tent, it's hard to draw them. Because I know Nathan with Duck River, that's how he does his, like, you'll see his market setups, and that's kind of how he does his. And I just feel like I like it, and it looks inviting, and I really like his setup. But I feel like it's hard to draw people in. I feel like you're going to have to work harder to get people to walk in.
I'm with you 1,000%. So you usually see kind of like a U in our setup. So we've got on the left-hand sides, we've got two like 6 foot long tables. What is it, like 3 foot wide, right? And then in the front, to make that U, we have a 2x4 table, which allows us to walk, right? Because it leaves a little bit of an opening so we can squeeze through there. And it's got a trade-off, and you're right on with exactly what you're talking about. And if we were on the other side of the market facing, because we're facing east, if we were facing west, we'd have a totally different setup, and it's all about the sun. So for us, with the sun coming up in the east, we're fighting that sun in the summer hitting our products. So we're moving as far back in our booth as possible to get the benefit of the shade. Now, if we were on the west side and the sun was coming up behind us throughout that morning, I'd probably have a table straight across the front for exactly what you're talking about, Melissa, that engagement of those people walking by. It is a little harder to engage people that are walking by when you're not right across the front, but there's things that you can do to work that. bringing the observation hive is going to slow people down and make them slow down and look at your booth. You've seen how we have the candles right up front. That's a really striking product that people respond to a lot, and they slow down. And so that forces them to slow down. And Tom, you talked about engaging customers. A lot of times what I'm doing is I'm noticing what they're noticing, and I'm starting the conversation based on what they're noticing. You know, if they're noticing our honey, I'm taking them to the tasting station. Do you want to try any of our honeys? If they're noticing our beeswax candles, I'm going to start talking to them about beeswax, pure beeswax. They burn slower, great for clarifying the environment, blah, 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 that kind of thing.
Right.
Carl had a
And
question.
Michael here, I don't know
Yeah.
if he's talking about the candles or the soaps.
Yeah, the beeswax, the candles I make are 100% beeswax. I know some people will add like a coconut oil or some other oil to kind of, gosh, I'm not sure what the reason would be. So, you know, it could be to add, you know, beeswax doesn't hold essential oil scents very well. We lost our host again.
Yeah. We
But-
don't scent or add anything to our candles. They're 100%.
I add a string to mine.
Yeah, me too. And Carl does a really nice job, or
String.
probably his wife that does a nice job, like dyeing their candles. We choose to just keep ours that beeswax color. In fact, well, listen, Tom, you have commented on how we do a really nice job of keeping that canary yellow.
Oh, yeah.
Russell's wife said the same thing today. She was looking at our candles and commented on that beeswax color. I think Carl's candles look really nice. I just prefer to highlight that natural beeswax color. And again, keep it simple. It's one less step for me to do. But I have thought about that, and I would do some of the Halloween ones in like a black dye to make them look really cool and gothic. They have some nice like red and green candles that match the Christmas holidays really nicely. So I think they look really nice. We just chose to go that route of highlighting that beeswax color.
DC asked about church candles. DC, I think that's a Catholic thing. It just has to be 100% beeswax. It doesn't have to be white. I think I looked into it a little bit because we've had people ask us about it. We've not made any of them yet. I think they have to. The thing is, they have to burn for like so many hours, or because I think it's like I don't know. Again, I'd have to look into it more because I just kind of briefly looked into it when somebody had asked me if we'd made them or not. But yeah, it's a Catholic thing, and they do have to be 100% beeswax. But I think it's something about like they have to burn for so many hours, and I can't remember what that is.
Philip, it is a coffee maker, but it's a different valve on it, isn't it?
It's got it. The thing that I liked about it when I was looking for these, I was actually going to go with one that was just a pot with the valve sticking out the side. The one I have, the drain's in the dead center, so you don't have to tilt it or angle it or that's the low point is right in the center. And it also, it's also nice if you have a label. It says that, and on the back of my label is, my logo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I just print those on some heavy cardstock and cut them out.
Oh, so you leave your wick long so it kind of acts as the.
Yeah. On this
that's
style,
a good idea.
On this style of candle, I use a hemp wax. It's wax impregnated, so I can actually twist it around a little. I use like a little paintbrush, so it looks like a little bit of a vine.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I like that. Because I've been trying to, because I was putting our candles in like little plastic baggies and then putting like the sticker. Because do you guys weigh your candles and put the weights on your candles? I guess technically you're supposed to.
I do not.
No. Nope.
But so I was putting them in plastic bags and then putting the label on the bag, but then, people always want to smell them. Not that they have like a strong scent or anything, but you can't like really see them real well through the plastic. And, when you travel with them, the plastic starts getting smudged because the wax kind of rubs off on the plastic and whatnot. So I kind of quit doing that. So I was trying to think of a way because I can't put a sticker label on the bottom of the candle because it's not going to stick, or it's not going to stick well anyway. It's going to come off eventually. So I've been trying to like figure out how to get a label on them without having them in the plastic. And I had thought about getting like some elastic ties and then making my own label and kind of hole punching it and putting it on that way, kind of like how I do our Muth bottles are similar to. But I like that how you left the wick long and you just put it on the wick and wind the wick. That's a good idea.
Let me show you I do a lot of them with a cotton wick, but I just tie a loose knot in it. I don't, but I leave it long like that. Let me see if I can find one. Let me see here.
All right, Melissa, while he's looking, what do you tell customers when they say that's so beautiful? I wouldn't want to even burn it.
Oh my gosh, constantly. I go, burn it, please. I will make you more. I promise. Like, it was made to be burnt. Burn it. We hear so many people like, oh, I can't buy this because I'll never burn it. I'm like, I made it for you to burn. Please burn it. But yeah, all the time.
How about you, Philip? I'm sure you get that too, right?
I really haven't gotten that. I don't have any that are like highly detailed, like a Christmas tree or.
Okay.
To me, I do wonder about when someone makes like a teddy bear or something. I'm thinking that's kind of when that poor teddy bear is just on fire melting. That's kind of creepy. That's why the ones I've got in my Amazon shopping cart to order are pine cones and then some little bear, not the little skeps with the bee on the side.
Yeah.
I've got those I haven't ordered them yet, but I've got them on there. This is let's see if I can show you this one. This is just a cotton wick, and I just try a loose knot around it like that.
Yeah.
But I leave it long.
So I asked Brian this. I can't remember if it was a text or how I asked you, Brian, about if you wax your wicks or whatnot. Because I guess for competition, you have to have a waxed wick. Your wicks have to be waxed. It can't. And I just had a cotton wick last year, so whatever. Because I didn't read the rules thoroughly, I guess. But so I actually bought a yarn spooler because you can spool your own yarn, and I bought a long
what?
I bought a spool of.
Did you share the sheep too? What I mean,
no. I bought a
She's bad.
I bought I don't know what you call it, but a spool of wicking material, right? Mm-hmm. And so my plan is to just submerge. Are you coming home tonight?
Oh no.
Okay. Sorry, teenagers walking through the house. So my plan is to submerge the wick into my beeswax and kind of pull it out, put it on this yarn spooler and re-spool it so it'll all be waxed wick then, right?
Wow.
That's the plan. We'll see how that works. But I have some pre-waxed hemp like that. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, this is just a roll of pre-waxed hemp.
Yep, I've got some of that. That works really well. I really like that. But for competition, that doesn't work, apparently.
It doesn't work because it's hemp? What is it?
Well, it has to be a cotton waxed wick.
Oh, okay.
For competition.
Got
But yeah, so that's my plan of how to make some waxed cotton wicking material where I don't have to keep dipping wick into wax constantly. I'll just do it all at one time and re-spool it.
So Hope asked a question about where we get our molds from. Hope all over. The usual beekeeping catalogs is a good place to get them. But honestly, Etsy is a really good place. Like, here's a skull. And these are super cheap and they don't last forever. The silicone is kind of flimsy and you'll break. Like, here's one with no seam. You just kind of invert it as you take it out. Right. And this is one, Philip, where we've got to be super careful. Like, if I just put the wick right to here, it's not going to be long enough to burn. So I have to kind of put it up. Like, I sometimes will even use like another mold as the kind of the brace, right? So I can put the wick down lower into this and still
Right.
pour it like that. So then you'll get some that are nicer. This one's like a VW bus.
Man, you guys
Right,
have
it's-
everything.
It's got
No kidding,
yeah,
man.
we've got, this is it's a large cat. So you probably see it better that way. The cat. We've got a whole bunch of different ones. This is one of the French bulldogs. You know, so some of them sit really easily, but other ones are super tricky. This one is a snail. I've never done this one. Jen does it all the time, but she's got to like rubber band it two
Right.
different ways.
Well, let me ask you this. I was looking at Christmas tree molds, and some
Yeah.
of them you invert and some are in two parts. What would you recommend?
Yeah. And the Christmas tree mold we use requires a large wick, not a medium. So this is one of the nice ones. It splits down
Oh, okay.
the
It splits
side.
in.
It's a
Not
pretty
two
good
pieces,
one.
but split. Okay.
Yeah, so it splits down the side. This
Hang
is
on.
a rubber band one. What's up, Joey? Oh, there you go.
Trying to get
So yeah, you can see the large tree.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
I
nice.
try to keep everything to like
That looks like a high quality
smaller.
one too.
Yeah, this is one of the
Oh,
good ones. And this is what I keep telling Jen, and at some point I'm going to do it. This is what we need to do. We need to, on these, write what it is,
what wiki need yet.
how many ounces, and Melissa, if it doesn't take a medium wick, because
Right.
most of ours take a medium wick to
Mhm.
indicate if it doesn't, what wick. Because that's one of the big mistakes I make is like this skull. This skull needs a large wick because it's so fat.
Why? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. And I use the medium ones usually. And this one needs a large wick as well. So all over. And then you can get, like, these are some cheap ones that are super flexible.
Yeah.
But I like these. Like, it's really easy to pop these out. This is a
Mhm.
cool rose pillar.
Mhm.
And they're not that expensive on Etsy. So if you use one, like if I make like 40 of these a year and then the mold is wasted, I have more, this is definitely paid for itself over and over again.
Mhm.
We've
And
gotten
Go ahead.
we've gotten molds from off Amazon, from Better Bee and from Bee Light is where we bought all of our molds from so far. The molds we've gotten from Better Bee are really good molds.
Mhm. Expensive.
They're expensive though.
Mhm.
The
Yep.
Bee Light ones are kind of pricey too, but the ones that we got from Bee Light are the morel mushroom ones, and
Yeah.
and the little gnome, and the hut, the tree hut type one.
Okay.
And they all seem really hard to get out. And I don't know if it's just because there's lots of grooves and nooks and crannies in those molds that makes it hard,
Yeah.
or if it's because those are the most stiff molds as far as material that we
Yeah.
have also.
Have you been using the freezer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the mold is just really, really stiff. So I think it might be
Yeah.
partially just their material that they use.
Yeah, and some of the molds are shaped like that big cat one. You kind of have to twist it out because its neck is like turned.
Yeah.
So you've got to pull it out in the way the shape the candle is made. Good, keep talking while I go grab something.
But so that's the three places that we've bought molds from. We're planning on getting more at Nabi if we find some that we like, or buying duplicates of the ones that sell really well. Carl asks if the mushroom sells really well.
Yes.
Everybody comments on that silly mushroom.
What's interesting is probably more men buy that candle than women do. And
Jen doesn't like it because it's very phallic looking. So she's like, I hate it. But,
So the only reason
but it sells, so I'm cool with it. And I actually got the idea from Jamie Wynn at Sweet Harlan. He lives in Kentucky. When I seen it, I asked him, I'm like, does that sell very well? And he's like, yep, it sure does. And I told Melissa, I'm like, buy one of the small ones and buy one of the big ones, and we'll see how they do. And they've sold well. So those are on our list to buy more of those because, again, we do sell those fairly often.
Mushrooms are huge in Colorado these days. We have 3 different mushroom vendors selling fresh mushrooms. It's just a big culture thing these days.
Yeah.
So here's that tree candle.
That's nice. Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's the mold I just showed you. I
That
just
was
pulled all the candles that we didn't sell, so I'll show a couple of them to you. Here's a mushroom house,
Oh, that's cute.
and this one goes really well. And I wanted to pull these aside because these are actually pretty
I'm not
tricky
sure,
to
Carl,
make.
because I've never measured it out to see how much wax goes in it.
Yeah, those are the
Our
gnomes.
gnome couple. These
Uh,
are actually really tricky to make because the wick coming out the hat.
mhm,
Oh, gotta be
yep,
right in the middle,
yep.
doesn't it?
So watch how I do it. And Jen won't make these. She thinks it's a big pain. You have to put the wick out. So look where it's coming out the bottom.
Mhm.
So I end up pouring them like this. So the wick is able to hang and I can pour it right from there. And
Yeah.
then the female one, actually, it doesn't seal very well no matter what rubber band I use on
Right.
the bottom.
Yeah, we have one
So
that's like that.
So it leaks out, and this is why that tray is so important. I just let it leak out, and then it'll like clot itself up
Right,
eventually, and then I just top it off, and then I
Mhm.
just take that wax that poured out and put it right back in the pot.
Yep.
But these are pretty tricky to make. These are this is a pretty popular one, but the pumpkin
Oh yeah. That's
snowman
nice.
kind of thing. And then we've got like some traditional pumpkins, as well as this is a cool Halloween skull candle one. Here's that large cat one with a twisting neck. That's a pain to get out. And then we have a smaller cat one as well. We have a lot of different animals one. We have 2 that are a Day of the Dead couple, just like our gnome couple, but it's the like Day of the Dead skeleton folks. I don't have any of those. But we've got
See, just asked a question about can you add food coloring to the beeswax? I'm not sure how you color beeswax. I guess Carl does colored candles. He might be a good one to ask about that.
Yeah. And I know there are different natural ways you can do it, like beet. I don't know. Like beet juice is something that they use to dye like textiles. I don't know if that's something they would use to dye candles.
Carl
But
says
yeah,
they have candle coloring, specific stuff for candles.
there you go.
Joey, pardon my interruption. You're talking about subjects that I have no knowledge whatsoever. And furthermore, it's way past my bedtime, so
Yeah.
pardon me, I elected to check out on you. Thank you.
Good night, JW.
No fishing pictures, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a good night.
We all
Good night,
fix to
JW.
leave here in just a minute.
See you, buddy.
I'm gonna show you one more thing. If you're a candle maker going to the market, I found a crappy version of one of these at Michael's and have since upgraded. It's an ornament container. I don't know how to describe it.
I
this
did the
is
same thing. No, I did the
Oh.
same thing. I bought an ornament organizer, and that's what I put all my candles in.
Yeah.
That's
Tom
cool.
probably-
This
Yep.
check out this one. It comes in all these different layers.
Yep.
So I paid $50 for this, but it was so worth it.
Oh, I like
Like
it that
there's-
it has separate trays. Mine's just a plastic
Yeah.
container that has
Yeah.
the separators in different layers. I like that.
I've got 5 trays, and then they give you these cardboard inserts to
Yep.
make your own little segments. So I have in the middle, I have the large, and top and bottom, I have the smalls. But it's awesome. It's so great. And it's like, if it rains, it doesn't matter. Everything
Yep.
is safe and protected. Oh, I love this thing.
Yep, I just bought literally this week. Just bought hard plastic containers that are for ornaments organization to do that same thing.
So there, one more tip. If you're doing markets and making a lot of candles, look how cool that is.
That is cool. That's really cool. This is why we come on the chats, just to learn these kind
That's
of things.
it. I'm gonna make my wife watch this one. Maybe she'll get interested in making candles for me. to sell.
You still got 46 people watching this chat as we gabber on about candles and whatnot. And Carl, I think you're right. JW just got off to go get a shot of bourbon.
Yeah. I was going to comment back to that, Carl. I seen it. I was laughing. I'm like, wait till he sees that.
Uh,
But yeah, I mean, they're fun. They're fun to make. They're kind of time consuming. And, I think it'll expedite me making all those candles if we had duplicates of some of those molds.
yeah, that would be the thing to do when you need to make like 20 of them.
Right.
And for me, I think we have 2 that we have doubles of. So I'm not making 8 pine cones at once. I'm making 8 different candles. And then I'm making 2 more of those 8 different candles, you know? So I'm making one batch and one of everyone.
Right.
And then I'll just rotate it through. So by the time I'm ready for the weekend, I'll have 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these. And that's what's great about the silicone molds is they're so personalized, right? The cat people gravitate towards the cat ones. The people that have French bulldogs or know someone that has a French bulldog has to buy that candle, right? And a votive is nice. It's classic, but it's not personal. Like a gnome or a mushroom or a sheep or whatever that you just love. That's your thing, you know?
Right. I was at Michael's or somewhere, I don't remember, one of those stores, and I bought a mold for tea light candles. And I started pouring a bunch of tea lights, and I think I put 4 tea lights, and there's hardly any wax in those. I can't tell you off the top of my head. I think I put like 4 tea lights in the thing. I'm going to sell those for like $5 for a set of 4 of them. And
so y'all done been an influence on somebody else here.
That's awesome. That's why we do this. This is great. Yeah. So I'm interested in the luminaries. Have you ever seen those? So you take a balloon and you dip it in liquid wax over and over again. So you're making this wax bowl. And some people will put like pressed dried flowers on the outside of it. But essentially they're putting tea lights, I guess, in the luminary and lighting it that way. And first of all, they're beautiful. But I don't get how you can make a candle light inside of a beeswax bowl safely.
Not at all, yeah.
It's got to melt.
You enter it in the competition.
No. That's why I was asking here if someone knows. There's a company in Texas, and they make a whole bunch of beeswax stuff. I forget the name of them, but they make beautiful luminaries.
Well, I've seen the luminaries online, but it's not beeswax. They're usually the white wax, and they have the pressed flowers and all that.
Yeah.
They're real pretty.
They are,
but they have to melt, I guess.
I don't know. I guess people out there looking for ideas. When I started as a beekeeper, and I knew I wanted to make a business out of it, I thought to I didn't think I was going to be able to do it just on honey. Being able to sell just honey wasn't going to do it. So I had to think to myself, how can I diversify my income, not just on like services I can provide, but products I can make. And that's why I love doing the natural beeswax. So I can talk to my customer about beeswax, doing all the salves and everything. We talk about the properties of beeswax, talking about honey. I need to do more propolis and talk about the properties and benefits of propolis, that kind of thing. All these different products that you put on the table and the opportunities you have to talk to your customers about those products demonstrates your expertise and demonstrates your skill set. And that's part of you selling to your customer, right? Yep. If you're just saying this is really good honey, it's local honey, that's okay. But you can go far beyond that to engage with your customer so that they really get, this is my local beekeeper and I'm buying real honey from my local beekeeper.
Yep. When we start talking to people and they realize you make all these products, like, we work really hard at our bees. We're really dedicated to this craft. And then that kind of like ups our legitimacy or, whatever, like, oh, okay, this is, quality stuff here. These people know what they're talking about. They're just not, out here. When you put some knowledge behind your product, people really, really recognize that.
And you would be surprised how many people actually ask
if it's our honey. Is this your
Yeah.
honey? I'm like,
Are you the beekeeper? I get that too.
Yeah.
So are you guys the
everything you
beekeepers?
see on this table was built from our hives, from the start of the bees to the colonies, to the management, to the extraction, to the product development, bottling, and now sales. 100%
Yep.
from start to finish. And believe it or I never really thought about it like that. And I thought, like flavored honey straws. I'm like, we could buy those and resell those cheaper than I could make them.
But then it's not our honey.
But I'm like, now I can't claim my claim to fame on the table is now I can't say 100% of this is all ours. Now, is there a lot of value in that? I don't know. Do I have a lot of people mention that or bring it up? A fair amount do actually. So, they'll ask me like, so is this your honey? I'm like, and I tell them 100%, everything here from start to finish.
I keep the honey dippers
I
on
get
there
the question
that
sometimes, do you make
buy
this
and
honey?
resell.
Yeah.
Do you make this honey? Yeah.
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 I always tell them,
Yeah.
I'm like, we take all this from the bees, but I'm like, the trade-off is we take really good care of these bees. And I'm like, that's the trade-off. I'm like, we don't want to see them fail. And I always end it with dead bees don't make honey, and they're like, exactly.
Do you guys do any wax melts? I've been experimenting with wax melts.
No.
No.
Yeah, this is a wax melter here.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Okay.
Hold on.
Are you adding scents to it?
No, I'm not. All I did was I bought this. It lights up here. Let's see if I can.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a few in the house.
I get people who ask me if our candles are made out of honey.
Yep. They say
Is this
that
honey?
all the time.
Yeah.
Like, yep, it's 100% honey.
That's an education opportunity right there.
You bet.
Let's see here.
So I have to brag on our boys a little bit. So
There we go.
well, I'll let Philip finish this and then I'll brag on
Whoa.
our boys.
So bright. I don't know if it's gonna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's kind of overexposing on the camera there.
Yeah, it's probably not gonna.
But the
But
bulk
you-
there
You
warms the
basically
wax.
just take this and put it in there and let it melt. But it takes like over an hour for that little bit of 1 ounce of wax, beeswax, to melt. Most people that make these
Cool.
use either they'll use soy wax, which
Yeah.
melts real fast, or
Lower
they'll
melting
mix
point.
beeswax with soy wax.
Where did you get that, Philip?
I just bought it on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you
It's called a, what's
It's
it
called
called?
wax
A wax
melt.
melter?
it's called wax. Now it here, let me turn it off so you can see it a little better. But
Looks like a peanut
It's-
butter cup. Huh?
I thought the
It's
same
just-
thing, DC.
it's designed so you can just put wax in this glass part. But if you do that, it's obviously just sticks in there. So they recommend you use these little cups.
I see.
This is it. And I got the neoprene cups, so they're reusable. And I got like 50 of these. I don't know what I'm gonna do with all of them.
Now you got me wanting a Reese's cup.
I know, right?
The wax comes out nice and easy and clean. But yeah, I just
Hey, Joey, I can email this to you, Joey.
Email it to you.
I can email it to you.
So I have
Song? Oh, go ahead,
ahead.
Melissa.
well no, I was gonna say something about markets, but go ahead if you're gonna continue candles.
No, I was just gonna express my ignorance. And why are you burning beeswax in that? Is to get the smell? Like, what is the purpose of that tool? Like,
Yes,
usually I see stuff like that for holding scents and putting that scent into the air.
Yes, but people do that with other waxes that are infused with different scents. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're
I
trying to
just-
mimic those products.
Yes. Well, I actually saw it on a beekeeper's website, but all of theirs are soy wax. Even though they're a beekeeper, they're selling soy wax melts, which melt more quickly. Now, this does put off an odor, a beeswax odor when it's melted. And when it melts, it's a nice smell, but it's very, very faint. It's not strong at all.
Yeah.
Carl.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Doing
Carl.
awesome.
Hey,
Carl.
I just want to jump in for a second here. I know Brian was talking about. I love that little ornament case that he had in that. But what we've been using was and I'm going to flip this around quick and see how it turns out. But we've been using something that we found is from the florist. They have long boxes that are narrow, and I take the 6-pack dividers out of cases and that, and I actually take and I hold the candles like this. I don't know if you guys can see that or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bet.
And I mean,
Now
you can see
chocolate.
yeah, and you can see I have, because we just came back from a show, we have 3 different boxes, and we have about 150 candles there that we store in these boxes.
Wow.
That we actually move them around with. That way they're not moving around and breaking up or getting banged up like Melissa said.
Right.
I couldn't imagine my wife going crazy if somebody knocked over a bunch of candles like Melissa said.
Oh, I was so mad again. I was mostly mad because they didn't like stop to apologize or even acknowledge what they did. But I was like, are you serious? You just ruined like 5 of my candles.
Well, she was out of shape. She almost said something in front of another customer, and I'm like, "Yeah, we'll deal with it later. It's cool. Hey, how you doing, man? What can I do for you?"
Yeah.
Stop your mouth in front of people. Nobody wants to listen to negativity. The lady was out there actually looking at stuff, and I'm like, "Yep, we're not worried about it right now. Hey, how's it going? Can I help you with that?" Blah blah. You know.
Yeah, I don't know what I did, but I lost the video here. But I couldn't imagine, Melissa. I would be so shocked, and my wife, it's hard to keep her back when somebody does something like that.
Yeah. I mean, when you think of the candles that person messed up, not that I can't melt that back down and reuse it, because I totally can, but that was probably at least $50 or if not more worth of candles that she just was unapologetic about destroying. Obviously, she didn't know she destroyed them because she didn't stop. But it was
a hit and run.
Yeah. The whole thing is just frustrating. I was like, oh my God.
And that's what's great about candles is you can, if you mess up in any way or if they get damaged, you can remelt them and just redo them. We've started getting away from soaps because if you mess up a batch of soap, the whole thing is wasted. Good.
Oh my gosh. I have 4. I actually have.
Great minds think alike. I do exactly what Carl does. It's just what my jars come in the boxes.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he's doing there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear from Carl if he can come back on or gets a chance maybe in another chat to tell us about the dyes that they use for dyeing their wax.
So you mentioned the soap there. I actually have one. I think I still have 3 batches of soap downstairs that I think my scale was uneven when I was measuring out my sodium hydroxide.
Yeah.
And before I even got to pour it, it was already setting. Like there was so much sodium hydroxide in this that it was like immediately hardening. So I had to really quick pour it into the mold. And then, I mean, I could have cut it an hour later. Like that's how quick that this set up. And so like a couple days later, or the next day I got it and I put it on my soap cutter and I cut it, into chunks or whatever. And it was just, tried it out, and I'm like, oh, this feels disgusting on my hands. Like there's something obviously wrong with this. And I've been rebatching that soap for it takes like a whole day to do one rebatch on this. And my one loaf of soap, like I must have put enough sodium hydroxide in it to make 2 loaves of soap.
Oh dear.
I'm adding so much oil to get the pH down in the soap. It's ridiculous. But I think like it's coming out of the molds nice enough that I'll still be able to sell it. But it's like, what a pain in the
But
butt.
you know what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah.
it's hard to mess up a lip balm batch because it's a melt and pour.
Right.
If I mess up a batch, it's a soap batch. And when
Right.
you think about it, visualize a bar of soap.
You've got a lot of money in those oils and soap.
That's
too.
right. So
Like,
look at a
there's
lip
ton of
balm.
money in that soap.
Our soaps cost $7.
Mm-hmm.
Our lip balms cost $6. Now just visualize the difference in the amount of oils, knowing that oils have different costs but just average it out.
Right.
Why am I bothering to make this soap that I can't make right half the time when everything else I make is making me more money and is the likelihood of me screwing it up is going to be a whole lot less.
That's
So
the
Jen and I,
That's the first time I've had a snafu with soap. It's just
Yeah.
unfortunately I was making like 4 or 5 batches at one time. And
Yep.
it was, like I said, I think my scale was off balance. And so it was not measuring correctly. And I was so mad. I was so mad.
Yeah.
But, oh yeah. So what I was going to mention about our boys is I've said before, sometimes when we like double book markets, Tom and I will go work one market and the boys will go work another market. And if anybody on here doesn't know, we've got identical twin 18-year-old boys. And they have no interest in bees whatsoever. But because they live in our house and they're surrounded by beekeeping, they've absorbed much information. They can talk about bees probably just as well as we can for the most part. So they can go and do markets themselves. I'll usually go and help them set up. Sometimes they have to set up themselves. They're fine. They can do it, and they'll do the market themselves. So last weekend we had a market down in Liability, and then they had a market in Pacific, and they did well. I knew their market wasn't going to be as big, so obviously they didn't sell as much as we did, but they still sold like a decent amount. But so we were doing the market this Friday in Pacific, which the market they did last weekend was also in Pacific. We had somebody come seek us out because they knew we were going to be down there, and they were coming to this event, and they're like, did you guys had a booth at the place is called Red Cedar Inn, at the Red Cedar Inn last weekend, right? And we're like, yeah, you guys with the shaggy haired guy, which both of our boys, they're identical. They both have shaggy hair. And we're like, well, Andrew and Isaac, she's like, well, it was one of them. I don't know which one. I'm like, whatever. She's like, I just want to let you know. Well, first off, we always get compliments on how well they conversate, which that's their dad. So not much surprise there. But she's like, I want to let you know that there was a guy next to them in a booth, and I guess he was an older gentleman. He must have fell or something happened to him. And she's like, they just rushed over there and helped him up and helped set him back up, get him, so like things that you do at markets, like make sure you're making good representation of yourself because people remember these things. And she made a point to like come tell us that, she didn't know who that shaggy haired kid was. She didn't know he was actually related to us or just an employee or something like that. So it was just a really good, like, oh, our kids do good things moment. But yeah, people, and you think sometimes you go to a market and somebody just buys something from you and they're not going to remember your name, right? I mean, this person remembered our name from a week ago. And so I was like, hey, this is the same people. I want to go, say something to them. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. It's
do you
always
ever?
Go ahead,
Phil.
well, I was going to say it's always good to hear good things about your kids because you're always going to hear some of those others too.
Yeah.
And we
Tell
still
me
don't
about
know which boy it was
Yeah.
because we haven't seen them since, with the exception of him just in and out of the house a few minutes ago. We haven't seen either one of them since last night. And neither one of them mentioned anybody falling. So we have no idea which shaggy head kid was the do-gooder.
Yeah.
So I was talking to my vendor neighbor today who he sends an employee to another market to sell his stuff. And I've been working with Cam, our youngest, to market train him, and it's been a process, but he's getting a whole lot better. And part of my question to him is, how do you motivate your employees to sell? Because when you're there, you're selling, you're motivated because you're passionate. You're passionate about bees. You're passionate about wanting to sell. Do you offer any incentive, like any cash incentives? Like if you sell a certain amount, do you incentivize your boys at all to do better at selling, and how do you motivate an employee, I guess is my question.
I don't beat them.
You save that for Tom, right?
No.
These boys are getting dangerously close to towering me. Okay, so
Oh my God. They can take me out easily.
Yeah.
But we give them a percentage of what they sell.
Okay.
So that's their motivation. So the more they sell, the more they make.
Can I ask what that percentage is and how you came about that?
I do 25%. Of what they sell, and the reason I did that is my thinking is anytime we wholesale to different stores or things like that, we give them a 25% discount. So I just kind of
not quite.
Well, it depends. Sometimes it's 20%, sometimes it's 25. Depends on what
roughly. Sure.
They're doing. Whatever.
To follow up, does each boy get 12.5?
So it depends. If they want to keep track of who sold what, I mean, we keep track of everything that's sold, right? Because they have to put it in the thing. If they individually want to keep track of what they sold, then they can get 25% of their personal sales. If they don't, then I just take their total sales and split it down the middle.
And how do they usually decide to do it?
Usually it's just split down the middle because they don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be bothered.
They probably work together.
Yeah, keeping track of it. Or they'll start to keep track and then they'll forget,
Yeah.
Forget or
If
whatever.
they're anything like my boys, I'm sure if one of them was slacking, the other one would let them know.
Yeah. And I'm sure that the boys, if one of them would not have pulled their own weight, we would have heard about it. Yeah.
Now, let me ask a follow-up then. So no hourly wage as a base, just 25% flat.
Now, if it was an employee, it would be different.
Right.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it was an employee, it would be different. These are our boys, and I won't get into all the details, but we pay for a lot for these guys. So when I ask for help on something, and they don't do a lot of markets by themselves, okay, I'll preface with that. It's very seldom do they. But when we double book them and I ask them to help, the answer better be yes, no problem, because then I can be like, oh, that's great. You know how I pay for this, that, or the other? You can pay for that on your own because you're 18 now, okay? So my boys get plenty.
So
but I'm sorry, go ahead, Phil.
I gotta get something to add because my kids help me at the market too.
So what my boys do work for me on my landscaping company, and they get paid hourly very well. And I actually I go back and I keep track of hours on jobs because we detail everything out on a job as far as materials, time, and different aspects of a job are also logged as far as times are concerned on there. But I basically let them put their times on the job sheets of start, finish, and break. And I don't really micromanage that too much. I'll look at the day as far as hours, and I'll know the jobs that we had, and I know in my head of what it should be. And as long as it's in a good range or close proximity, I don't say anything about it.
But as far as markets, you have to understand that our boys are super laid back, super easygoing. So they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. You know what I mean? Like extra pocket money, I don't care. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's helpful.
So, my deal with my kids, Brian, is of course they just help me. They haven't done any on their own, but
sorry,
if they just help me set up and sell and break down for market, I pay them $60. Okay. But if they help me fill honey jars, make candles, get the product ready, all that, then it bumps them to 10% of sales for helping me. And like today, my son made almost $130. So it was a big day for him and for me. Instead of 60, he doubled that. And he was pretty happy with that. But I've told all my kids, I said, if you'll take the raw product from me and go sell it, 25%, no problem. Just take it and go sell it. And as a matter of fact, a lady came up and she said, we really want you to come to this. It's a garden club. event that they have every year. It's a big deal. They have it at a hotel, and vendors come, and these really wealthy ladies do a lot of their Christmas shopping at these things, and it would cost me $75 to do it, and it's like a half a day, but it's during the day. And I looked at my son and I said, "You want to do that? Because I'll be working." And I think he's probably going to do that and take 25%. And he doesn't have to set up a tent. He just has a table.
Now, how old is your son?
He's 23.
Okay.
But my daughter has the same deal, and she's 18.
Yeah. So we are going to the Illinois State Conference that JW had mentioned earlier. And there's actually a market that Saturday that obviously we'll be out of town, so we can't do it. So you're nice. You asked. I just told Andrew and Isaac, I'm like, mark on your calendar that you guys are doing a market this day because Dad and I will be out of town.
You know, one thing I was going to say, Philip, that you said to me that kind of struck a thought within my head here was you said that's going to be a bunch of wealthier old ladies. In my opinion, the best salesman for that job is not a woman, it's a young man. Yeah. Because I'll tell you what, if he can talk appropriately to these ladies and throw out a couple compliments, that kid can milk those ladies for as much money as he wants to.
Right here.
And I'm not saying take advantage of. I'm just saying if these ladies are coming there and they want to spend money, that kid can work it out of them. And I would say that a young man or an older teenager could work that angle the absolute best. So he has an opportunity right there. You know, now if you were selling to a different demographic of people, maybe a female might be a better salesman in that regard. But given that it's a bunch of older ladies,
I didn't call them old ladies. I hope I called them older ladies. But
older ladies.
We're gonna get me in that problem. I gotta go back and listen. It's gonna be just like Joey. I'm gonna be apologizing to people.
I would like to preface this with all I did.
I didn't say I wasn't thinking it, but I was hoping I wasn't saying it.
So next week on the next chat, Tom's going to be the one making the apologies.
Here we go.
Here's this one.
I do have to say, I do somewhat agree. I think that when younger people, like our boys are, like I said, 18, your son's 23, your daughter's 18. If they're knowledgeable about the bees and the product and stuff, I think people really like buying products from them because they're impressed that somebody that age has that kind of knowledge about something that is pretty foreign to other people, you know, that they find fascinating, but they don't really have any knowledge of it. And when they can, and they know how to talk to people like that, being able to conversate with people is so important. So many kids and young people nowadays don't know how to hold actual conversations. And that's just so important. So as long as they can conversate with people and are knowledgeable about the products and the process that you're using to make those products, people are going to want to buy from them because they're just enamored that like young kids like that have that kind of knowledge and are able to present themselves appropriately.
I agree.
So my biggest stressor about that is I don't think I can avoid getting a credit card set up because I don't take credit cards right now.
So we don't either. We do Venmo, PayPal, and cash. And we use a tablet it's an app on a tablet. Erply, ERPLY, I think is what we use to keep track of everything. And I uploaded on the tablet that we use specifically for markets, my Venmo and my PayPal account so that the boys can check when somebody pays with Venmo or PayPal, they can click on that account, see transactions, and make sure that the transaction has gone through before they just like hand people their product and they walk off and we never get paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how does the PayPal work?
We have a QR code that we have printed up and people can just scan the QR code. Same with Venmo. We have a QR code that's attached to your Venmo or your PayPal account.
So does the PayPal is basically like a credit card then, right?
It's kind of like a holding account.
Yeah.
They take this money and hold it for you and you can transfer it to your bank
You're not paying a percentage of that.
I prefer Venmo honestly over PayPal because I just have it set up on my personal account. I don't have a business account set up with either of those. It's just my personal account.
I use Cash App too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with PayPal, if they don't put they're paying you friends and family, PayPal takes a percentage. And it's not a ton, but you don't get like your full $12 or whatever. You get like $11.75 or something like that.
It adds up though.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of people honestly don't pay with PayPal. But most people pay with Venmo.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really worry about it because we get mostly Venmo or cash payments.
Okay, I use Zelle.
Mm-hmm.
I have people pay with Zelle.
Mm-hmm. So I have Zelle too. I have Apple Pay and I have Zelle also, but I don't give all those options because I think people start getting confused. Now, if they mention to me, "Hey, can I pay with Zelle?" then I'll bring that up and get and let them. But I don't.
I get Apple Pay quite a bit requested.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, Cash App, but mostly it's Apple Pay or credit card that they want to pay with. But at the market, I'm literally 50 feet away from the market pavilion where they can go buy market tokens with their credit card and bring them back over to me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah.
But we won't have that option when he goes to that event. So that's what I'm worried about is these ladies will be pulling out their credit card and he won't be able to take their money.
Yeah. So the one thing I do because we don't take credit cards is when I see people like really browsing and starting to like grab a bunch of things, I'm like, just so you know, we can only accept, PayPal, Venmo, and cash, before they get like a whole slew of things and like, and they hand
it's only cost me less than 5 sales in 2 years. I'm not taking credit cards. It's not that big a deal, really. But a lot of people try it more than actually, use them.
Yeah, we lost
one.
one.
Most people could probably pay any of the other ways.
Right.
But if you offered a credit card, they seem to want to use it.
Well, and that's one of the reasons too why I don't want to offer, because then that's what people are going to resort to.
Yeah,
and then they want to take a percentage, and then you have to add a percentage to make up for that percentage. And I'm like, that's a pain in the butt.
Yep.
Right.
Cash is
we've been going near about 4 hours.
Yeah, I just see that now.
And I hate the end of good chat. This is a good chat. So
I'm ready for that anyway.
Y'all got to all promise me y'all coming back next week.
Coming back next week.
We won't have anything to talk about though, Joey. We're out. We're
Tom and I next Saturday. I don't know if Tom and I will be here because we have the Missouri State thing is next Saturday.
Oh yeah. I'm not sure. We have that state conference that we're presenting at, so I don't know what time we should be done by then, but we'll have to talk. We'll touch base later on Saturday when we figure out what's going on. Maybe we can jump in later.
So I'm going to see my mother next week, and she has terrible cell service, so I'm probably not going to be able to join. I'll try to get in on her Wi-Fi, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, I appreciate everybody coming in the studio, and I appreciate everybody over in the chat. Some of them's already gone. If they rewatch it, they'll see what I can tell them.
I mean, you still got like 38 people hanging on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Apparently, nobody wants to sleep tonight. But
I got to get up in the morning and start getting the RV ready to pack up and bring it home. We've been at the fair in it all week.
So. Oh boy.
And look, they got us in there. I can't even walk between the guy behind me and his trailer. I can't even walk between it. They got us so close.
Holy cow, yeah.
Goodness gracious.
But it's still good. Everybody's good neighbors. Most of us know each other. There's probably, I bet you there's 100 campers in that little campground.
Carl, we use Sertan, so BT.
Yeah, Sertan, which is BT. It's a larvicide.
Yeah.
It's a little more costly, but I hate the smell of the pear moth crystals. I don't like it.
Well, like I said, I appreciate everybody coming in, and we will see y'all on the next one.
All right. Night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.